seconds late for those who are
Oh, we don't work in
counting.
seconds. Come on, give me a break.
Yeah. We're still within that magic 1500 Eastern Daylight time. And
I used to be able to get a bomb on target time right to 2 seconds. So 30 seconds in retirement and the civilian world.
I'm lucky if I'm within the hour.
Yeah.
So, okay. Hello, everybody. Okay, we're going to do, of course, it's just two of us here now. Steph will be joining us, and so will Dana. And then we'll see about volumes. So I'm relying upon you all in the chat room to let us know how our respective volumes are on the Hangout. So now I'm going to stop talking. Nick's going to start talking now.
And I would like to say that there's some bloke talking about phantom porn tonight. Don't think I've ever seen any of that. No.
Phantom porn.
Yeah.
I think, I know it's kind of cute that whole trend toward saying whatever porn, but I don't know. That's kind of off-putting to me.
Yeah.
Because porn really is on its own not a positive thing. Well, I guess it could be. It depends on your where you're coming from, I guess.
Yep. Where you're getting your paychecks from.
Yeah. Anyway.
We sound equal, apparently.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but I'm not equal because I am an underling.
No.
And Jeff is the boss.
We're all equals here.
And then there comes the HR. She's probably next in line. And then the producer.
If we're talking about seniority, then I'm most senior. Steph, HR is the second seniority number. You're seniority number 3, and Dana's number 4. Now, actually, if you want to get really technical, Miami Rick is seniority number 3.
Yeah.
You're 4.
But hasn't he retired?
Well, I think so, but I think that his name's still on the seniority list, I think. So we need to see exactly when we take him off the seniority list.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do that. Maybe it's been a while. We should have done it well.
Well, I don't know how many 100 shows we have to go through before he gets quietly year old.
Yeah. Okay. Voice volume is nicely balanced for you too. Thank you, Ken. So we made some adjustments, and we're hoping that what we did is going to make a difference. Now, you'll have to let me know because I don't always have the screen, Sir Nick, available that has the, well, maybe I should make it a separate window so I can have it available and I can see what's going on. Like when people join and that kind of thing. There we go. Okay. So I'll put that one there. Now I have that one. Okay. Now that will be right there. So I have my cheat sheet. And I think Radio Roger is still on vacation. Vacay. Well, why didn't that update? Intro. And double click, pop it out.
Bump up the volume. Yeah.
And that, no, it didn't. Huh. Interesting. Okay, so I'm at Studio 1210. Yeah, a loft hotel. Okay. Still just you and me here on the Simple and Free together.
Well, Dana's supposed to be very close to being on. So
yes, he said he was some unscheduled oral surgery. Okay. And let's see. So he should be on today, Micah. You know what that means, right? And Liz, you know what I mean, right? Well, he's not here, so he might be listening, though, because we're broadcasting, so we'll just stop at that. He had a birthday recently. Make sure
2 rings.
that I can get. I don't need that. Dun, dun, dun. I'm here and ready when you folks are. Thank you, Liz. That's our back channel chat, so to speak. And there's that. And let me see if now you can hear this.
Now hear this. Now hear this.
We appreciate all you guys that love the MD-80. We all love it. That's why I've been on it since 1980s.
Oh, I'm curious. There's 2 audio files for Plain Tales tonight. What's that about?
Oh, I always I take your file. Sometimes it's not completely even, and so I'm like adjusting volumes because you'll start off at a certain volume and then it kind of tapers off, and so I try in post I have to equal or level it out a little bit, and so I usually run it through Levelator, and if I have time before the show. And the other reason why I normally have 2 files in there, usually I just eliminate one of them, but I just left them both in there, is that I'll take off that last little promotional thing that you put on the end.
Yep.
And this one, no, they both have it on there. I somehow got distracted and didn't take it out on the end. So I have to remember at about 30 seconds before the very end of the file.
I usually leave you a nice bit of music there or
Yes.
something.
Yeah. So today I'll just have to manually take the volume slider and bring it down. And then I'll have to remember to put it back up. That'll be the hardest part for me. Remembering to put it back up.
Steph is 15 minutes.
Oh, awesome. Okay. This time I put it on the title as without, yeah. Okay.
Yep, that's right.
Let's see what else. What was I going to do? Oh, was it feedback? Current show. Where the EasyJet guy. No, that might have been news.
Yeah, I think EasyJet guy is the last news item, isn't it?
Okay, here we go. Let's see if you can hear this.
Wife, who's on row 50 with my little boy.
With my little boy?
Now I should keep it down a
little boy.
She rolled over and punched me in the back of the head and said, our flight's delayed by 2 hours.
There's an H in
back of the head. What's the head?
Yeah. I don't know. It's the name of that talking horse, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Back of the head. Ed?
That sounded a wee bit Scottish, that did.
Did you just burp?
No.
I think you're lying.
I could be, but you'll never know.
Yeah, well, I can replay this.
Are you really going to bother?
Okay, so that little recording starts kind of when he's mid-sentence there. So what does he start off by saying? My wife, who's on row 15 with my little boy, hopefully he's asleep by now. Should keep it down. No. Yeah, I'll just play it from what I have. Okay.
Hoping we might get a new listener from the Audi garage I went to a couple of days ago.
Oh, you're trying to get a discount?
Yeah.
Well,
not really. He seemed to be the chap that was looking after people who came in the door rather than a salesman. So, but he is a South American, and he is working. Well, I think he has got a CPL, working towards getting it Europeanized. Taking
nice.
all the exams and things, hoping to work out here. Hi, Dana.
Wow. Hi, how are you? Talking out of one side of my fucking mouth. No one
we're on air. I'd like to remind you, we don't have an explicit tag on our show, Dana.
I didn't say a swear word.
Sure sounded like one to me.
That's their frickin'.
Okay.
Well, we can't tell anything you say the way your mouth is.
Yeah, well, it's a bit sore right now.
I bet. So what was it? Yeah, a tooth pulled or
no? I had a. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my screen blocked here. I had a root canal that was redone about 3 months ago, and I've had nothing but pain with it. So she decided to go ahead, and when I went in today to see her, to just go ahead and retreat it and go with the oral surgery today, which
All
I
right,
was not
okay.
expecting. So
No.
I had all types of there we go. Let's straighten that out there. Had all types of errands to run, and I didn't get half of them done. Oh well.
Bad luck.
So have you been on vacation?
I'm off. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're just not okay.
I'm
I'm
leaving.
or anything.
Yeah, I'm leaving Saturday morning. The jump seat saga. I was sitting in the dentist chair, and I felt a vibration in my pocket, reminding me that it was 11:55 a.m. because the jump seat window opens at noontime for the flight on Saturday. Well, it's with the Acme Dive Club that's going down to Cozumel, which I'm joining on Saturday.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of fellow aviators that had access to that jump seat, and the flight is oversold. So I made sure at 12 o'clock on the dot, I booked that jump seat.
Did you get it?
I got it.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
You guys are going to be sleeping on a big boat, are you?
No. We'll be rocking.
No. That tragedy in off the California coast.
Yeah. That was terrible. Terrible. Let me move the microphone so I don't have to lean in.
So your jump seats are first come, first serve, not seniority based?
Nope, they're first come, first serve.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
yes. First come, first serve.
I can picture one of my buddies that's going with me that I've flown with him a couple times and friends with and been friends for a long time. He's probably sitting there cursing and swearing up a storm, and he's not as senior as Jeff, but he's pretty close.
They do have 3 categories. They have going to work, coming home from work, and leisure or personal. And each one has the furthest out that you can get it. I don't know what the time frame is. Dana.
7 days.
7?
7 days if you're going to work, 5 days if you're coming home, and then 3 a day and a half for personal.
Okay, yeah, because I've obviously only used the personal one, so
Me
I
too.
just know that's the last opportunity. You know, if somebody going to work or coming home from work hasn't already snagged it by then you have a chance of getting it, as long as you're the first one, as Dana said, when the window opens up to get it. Yes, Liz, there are people more senior than I, about 1,600 some odd people that are senior to me. I don't know exactly what my system seniority is, but something like that.
That's
More than 1,000.
That's more than the number of captains we had, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, we have over 14,000 pilots at Acme.
We do.
Wow.
Let me break this thing out.
Small cog in a very big wheel.
I was actually ready to go at 3, and of course I sit down on my computer and my internet wasn't working. So
of course,
now I'm just trying to get everything set up.
That's right. We're going to just wait a little bit longer for
Dr. Steph.
Yeah.
I do have to pop out about 6:20.
Well, I hope that we're finished by then.
I'm hoping to, but just let you know I have to leave by then.
Okay.
I have to go
Just
pick up my prescription.
Leave whenever you need to leave.
Okay, I'll do so.
All right, let me do this.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door. WAPG.
By the way, I put the little ding in. He was when he was doing his when he was doing the little his show, working on our promo, Mike Russell, music radio creative. That's too long to go into, but anyway, he kept looking for a sound like that sound effect, the chime, the cabin chime, and I'm thinking, well, I have one, but that wasn't doing him any good. He was looking for something that he could find on in his library or whatever. Never did find it. So he found some kind of a clicking noise, like a seatbelt being clicked together or something. And I'm thinking, yeah, you're not gonna be able to hear that. So when he sent me the file, or when I retrieved it from the repository, I went ahead and added the little ding to the end. If that makes sense.
It does.
Let's see.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door.
Feels like it's been forever since I've been with you guys.
Feels like since forever.
It has been a
It's
while.
only been, what?
3 weeks.
Has it been?
Yeah, 2 shows gone by.
Okay. Alrighty.
I listened to them. A
Oh,
couple
you did?
things. There are a couple things I was going to say, but of course, fast forward a week and I forget.
Yeah.
I should have wrote them down.
I did
but-
actually last week. I told them about the correction that you told me. I don't remember what it was about now, but it was something I said that was quite. Oh, the control tab.
Oh, the control tabs,
And
yeah.
the elevator thing. So I kind of straightened that out and mentioned that it was you who said something about that. So
Yeah, shows that I actually do listen every once in a while.
there you go. Okay, Nick, we'll have to be careful about what we say.
Yeah, I know. I've already realized that. Damn it.
I miss you, Nick. How you doing?
I'm surviving, Milt. Surviving.
How was
Just-
your award show?
You've lost me.
For your bowling.
Oh, the games went fine, thanks. We get given the prizes at a special dinner next month.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
How'd you finish?
I was runner up in the handicap singles, and we won the pairs. Thank you. So
Fantastic.
okay.
Congratulations.
yeah, cheers.
I'm just not fast enough. Where are they? Here they are. All right. Did somebody say game show?
No one said game show.
Yeah, no.
Oh, you
No.
can't hear it. This is the wrong machine. I gotta hear it from this one. Dang it. All right, never mind.
Well, my 11:30 finish is getting a bit tight now.
Okay. Well, we can start, and then she can just join whenever she gets home.
How long is she going to be? Do you think she's listening?
I don't know. Has she?
She said she's 15 minutes from home, and that was at 3:06. So she's probably very close to logging on.
Oh, in that case, let's hang on.
Yeah. Why don't we just wait? Just a bit after 3, so not too bad, Mr. Nick, Captain Nick.
Yep.
I got my calendar updated for the rest of September.
Oh, I'll have to check it out.
So that way you know where I am, what I'm doing, and when I'm available. Because I miss you guys.
Well, you keep disappearing off and doing stuff.
Well,
Yeah, clearly you're not.
It's
You're
called-
not allowed to
it's
have a
called work.
life. Yeah,
One-
you're not allowed
one-
to have a life if you're on this show.
that's true. That's the reason why I'm on the show. I don't have, well, no, that's right. That's why I'm never on the show, because I have a life.
So why do you have Dana Vacation on there?
Just in case you're wondering where I am.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. Where are you going to be?
Cosmo. I put Cosmo as a separate.
I see that. Okay, then when you get back, you're going to be around Atlanta.
Yep, and then I go to work on the 19th, which is a Thursday.
Gotcha.
Since that seems to be the day that we tend to do this.
Are you doing a bunch of turnarounds? Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of the 24th, 25th, 26th?
No,
Oh, it looks like 3 separate entries.
it is.
Oh.
But if you look at my overnight, it says layover and time.
Oh, I see. Okay. You just did it that way. Gotcha.
I'm not overly. I mean, I haven't been doing a whole lot of entries because I've been on reserve for so long. Other than last month.
So if I want to see the whole trip, I have to click on each one of these things separately.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I tried to do the whole trip, but it was on the notes and you had to scroll down. So I did it that way too, but I wasn't sure people would know to scroll down in the notes on the calendar.
Gotcha.
So that's why I just put the what I'm flying that day and then the layover and how many hours.
Okay.
If it doesn't make sense, I can redo it.
No,
Not a
no,
problem.
I think I understand. Dun, 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 dun,
Get
dun.
recurrent next month.
I have a recurrent next week.
Oi. Oh, so I'll be able to get an update from you.
Yeah, maybe if I feel like telling you what's going on.
Aw. My feelings are hurt.
Your feelings? Because you're at the dentist?
That's hurting too.
Yeah, I can give you a briefing. From what I hear, it's pretty gentlewomanly.
There is nothing for me that's ever gentlemanly. I have the worst check ride itis.
No, you don't.
I think we all do.
See what I got for my birthday? It was my friend locally gave me Harley Davidson notepads.
We can't.
So I can scribble my notes on them.
Okay. Can you hear my air conditioning in the background?
No.
No.
Can
Okay.
you hear my fan in the background?
No.
Okay, good. Scribble pad.
I
can finally say my last trip was uneventful.
Good.
My last trip, it took all summer, but my last trip was uneventful. For a change. All right, the cleaning lady's been here. With my... Oh, there it is. Yay.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The View.
Okay, you can hear that one as well, right?
Hey, Jeff, I'm thirsty.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get my alcohol.
Oh, yeah, I thought you were going to come by or do something on Friday.
Yeah, well, you said you'd let me know whether Friday would work or not.
Oh,
I never heard from you, so I assumed that was a no.
I thought about it about sometime Friday afternoon.
Show.
What was that?
I'm just playing.
Oh, okay.
He's bored.
Email.
This guy asked to swap CQ, and I can't because I'm doing that Velvet training.
The Velvet or the CX5?
No, I'm doing the Velvet because I read it and it sounded pretty interesting.
Oh, okay. Why do I sound odd all of a sudden? Hello. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Huh. Interesting. I might turn off the air conditioning.
I don't hear it at all. Seriously.
Do you hear it now?
I can hear it.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Test. Check.
Checkity check.
Yeah.
Bored now.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and turn it off.
Start drinking heavily.
Hi. Way back there.
Hello.
Hello out there. God bless you. You know you're on air.
That's right.
No word from Dr. Steph yet. My prescription's already perfect. I'm already on the show.
turns out what I hear is not my air conditioning, but it's like a ventilation fan in the bathroom that I can't turn off.
Did you close the door?
Yeah, but I can still hear it. Oh well, I'll fix it in post. Like
I think you're going to find you're not hearing it.
Well, I when on the video you normally don't hear it, but when I do the actual audio editing, I can hear it. But I do things to get rid of that kind of noise.
I just turned on my A&R. Let's see, because that's when I get and hear everything. So hold on. Nope, I still can't hear it.
Okay.
Can you turn my tinnitus off?
Yeah, I'd like to do that too. I'm suffering from it. I get the same thing.
3 of us do.
Yeah, well, that's from flying airplanes.
Yeah, it's the hazard of this job.
Yeah,
for sure. One of the hazards. Okay. Come on, Steph. You can do it. I did a test on my Wi-Fi here in the Aloft Hotel in Greenville, and the down was 184, and the up was like 190 something.
oh, very good.
I went, huh? That can't be right. Liz has tinnitus too.
It's catching.
It's just from hanging around us, Liz.
Yeah.
She goes, but I don't fly. Question mark? Question mark? Yeah, I don't know. That's probably all those rock concerts that she went to.
Yep.
She was rocking.
Rocking out, baby.
Rock it out.
Let's see. I think Steph just said that she just arrived home. Need a few minutes to take care of the dogs and get set up. Okay. I'm sure I've forgotten something. Oh, I can look at the news and kind of say something somewhat intelligent. Maybe not.
Oh, I'll have to get a spare beer.
Okay. Couple of airlines reappear after absences from student pilot lands plane after instructor blacks out. A U.S. court. Let's see, it's a U.S. appeals court says that travelers can sue the American government over abusive conduct by TSA workers. I should probably pee before I start.
Why don't you do that?
Okay. I had a couple of cups of coffee, and then I had for my quick lunch, I ended up having a beer, a North Carolina beer from Asheville, Wicked Weed. I'm sorry, Green Man, ESB. Pretty good. All right, I'll
Sounds
be
good to me.
right back. Well, no, it doesn't. You don't like that.
I'm lying. In case you guys were wondering in the chat room, since I'm the only one left here now, it's been a long time. Let's see. Actually doing my bid for next month. I've been so busy I haven't had time. It just opened up. What's today? The 5th? It opened up today, and I leave on Saturday, so I'm not going to have time. Dana's the boss? What do you mean by that, Tim? Oh, the boss. Got it.
Yeah, it's the only problem with hanging around Gail. I drink too much.
Yeah, I'm very tempted to have an adult beverage, but I haven't had anything to eat today, so that'll probably be a bad idea if I were to have an adult beverage right now. So, how's Miss Jilly doing? The doggies?
Well, Miss Jilly's fine. Rusty's fine. Araga must have cut his chin, and it went a bit septic. We were trying to work out why he was occasionally squealing when he got jarred or people came close to his face. And we took us a while to work it out. And a close inspection, of course, he's very furry, so it's very hard to see these things. But he had quite a nasty infected gash there, so we've had him down the vet, had that fixed. So he's healing from that, thank you, and doing fine.
Poor pup.
Yep. But other than that,
Poor little guy.
oh, don't start.
Sorry.
Good.
Yeah, 3:30 in the morning was my wake up call this morning. Ugh.
Well, I wasn't much after you, and that wasn't. I didn't intend to wake up early. I just woke up a little before 6.
I did. Liz, I did go. I just got back. Is that what she means?
Don't know.
Are you going, Jeff?
That trip to Frankfurt is going to be a killer. The only flight I could get easily leaves at like just gone 7. And I'm pretty sure you have to like be there 2 hours prior, in theory.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes it 5 at the airport. Gonna have to leave home at 4 in the morning. Get up at 4 in the morning. That's gonna be
Saturday the 21st.
Yeah, that's gonna be a long old day.
Yeah, it is. Well, I'll be right there with you, man, because I'll have been on the airplane all night.
Ah, there you go. Right, okay. So we'll just fall asleep in the corner over a great stein of beer.
All right. Well, so folks, this is going to happen. It's going to happen here very soon.
I'm not convinced. I think I'm just going to sit here for another.
Yeah, she did say 15 minutes a long time ago.
She said that she said she was home and she needs to take care of the dogs and set up.
Oh, see, there it is. I see, said the blind man.
All right. Jilly as well. Do you get flight privileges on Acme Red as a retiree? Yes. You can just say yes. You can talk to people. They can hear you.
Sorry, I was listening to a little movie that Liz sent of the Red Arrows in Canada.
Okay. Sorry, we couldn't hear that you were listening.
No, it was just blotting you out. So what am I saying yes to?
Somebody was asking about, do you still get flight privileges? Main man Micah, do you still get flight privileges on Acme Red as a retiree, and Jilly as well?
Yes, and I've already. Oh, that's a good point. Actually, I've got to reclaim 2 tickets that I didn't use. Yeah, I've already used one of my free tickets to get to Oshkosh.
Oshkosh.
So
how many do you get? A certain number per year?
Yeah, we get 2 a year, 2 free ones a year. But I can do Z fares. I don't know if there's a restriction on the number. Probably is, but it'll be more than I need, I expect.
Yeah, other airlines, what he just said, Z, zone economic. What does that stand for? Zonal. I don't know.
Yeah, they just, I don't know. The price is dependent on the distance you travel, I think, basically. The different zones. I'm feeling that's how it works. Zonal employee discount. There you go.
That's it. Did somebody just thank you, Jeff Gebhardt.
Well done, Jeff. The other Jeff. Another Jeff.
Jeff?
Shut up, Jeff.
That's not very nice for your audience.
Well, he's got to know that he shows up for this chat room. He's going to get abuse.
Going to take some flack. Yeah.
Shut up, Jeff.
I'm hoping that when Steph joins us, that the audio works out. Remember last time we tried to add 4 people or have 4 people on this?
That's
The
true.
last one didn't work out so great.
I think it's just Steph's flaky audio.
It could be. Probably not.
But every time she seems to turn her computer on, it goes to some internal microphone and seems to be a nightmare getting it turned around.
Hey, Jeff, did you notice that we don't have Flint layover anymore? Not
No.
that you look at that stuff.
I didn't notice.
I'm sure you're missing it terribly.
Pardon me?
I'm sure you're missing it terribly. The Flint layover.
Yeah, I am. No, I'm choosing. I'm actually doing my bid right now because I'm waiting, and I'm happy to see because I always avoid Flint and Jackson, and try to avoid Birmingham. Just because there's nothing around the hotel.
I don't care. I mean, I care about you, but I don't care about where I go.
Yeah, these are just a couple that I put on there, and usually I don't even put Birmingham.
Can we start the show now?
Yeah, we can.
Well, only if you actually join us, Nick. I don't think from
I'm
down
here.
here it's
You
going
can
to
see
be
me.
very.
We can see his hat.
You're like Wilson from Home. Or no,
Home-
what was the?
Home Improvement.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
So everybody in their settings, just make sure that you have the disable audio processing not checked.
Not checked.
Not checked. I unchecked it.
Unchecked.
Unchecked.
Yes.
That's the show. It's
Check.
unchecked.
Check. It's unchecked.
Okay. Very good. Welcome, Steph. Can't wait to
Greetings.
catch up with you and everyone else here. But why don't we go ahead and just start the show then?
Okay.
Let me go over here and go back to the news thing, and then I'll make up something. Here. Start recorders.
Oh yeah, good call.
I just about started without the recorders going.
It's recording.
All right.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Everyone ready?
Bye.
Yep.
I'll just unmute.
Yeah, that might help.
I had to get my.
We'll
clapper.
hear your clapper better if you're not muted. Yes.
Well, you
Well,
don't need
I had,
to hear
I
it,
had to
actually.
grab it.
The recorder needs to
That's
hear
true.
it. The recorder would have
That's
heard it
true.
fine.
But how will we know how poorly we've timed this?
Oh, well,
Well.
yeah. It's always poor.
That's half the fun.
All right, ready? 3,
Maybe.
2, 1. Your 3 clapboard things were like exactly the same time.
Oh,
To me,
they all
really.
sounded different to me.
Okay.
They all sounded pretty good to me.
Okay.
I don't care.
Okay. Thank you very much. And Liz, looks like we'll call it 3:40 Eastern Daylight Time.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG, it's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 390.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. I'm Captain Jeff, your host, broadcasting live from Studio 1210 at the Aloft Hotel in Greenville, South Carolina. Today's show was recorded on September 5th, 2019.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Get your line and he's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, a student pilot lands an airplane on his very first lesson without his instructor because he was unconscious. U.S. Court of Appeal says that travelers can sue the TSA. And more news, your feedback, and this week's plane tale. Rammstein Flugtag, 1988. Get all settled in, tray tables and seatbacks in their upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. Flight 390 is ready for pushback. I did so well with
Timed that
that
perfectly.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
So that's what happens. That's what happens when I try to make up the news and without having it written out.
I thought all our news was made up.
Well, shh. Don't tell anybody that. just most of it. Okay, wow. I know what I'll do. I'll just do a generic news thing. Radio Roger can do all the professional teasing. All right, here we go.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 390.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. I'm Captain Jeff, your host, broadcasting live from Studio 1210 at the Loft Hotel in Greenville, South Carolina. Today's show was recorded on the 5th of September, 2019. Stop it. I gotta take his screen away. I can't watch it.
He's having too much fun.
In today's episode, we're going to cover aviation news since our last show and your great feedback. And this week's plane tale, Rammstein Flugtag, 1988. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in their upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. Flight 390 is ready for pushback. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast where we talk about aviation news and cover your awesome feedback. And I'm a captain for a major U.S. legacy carrier based in Atlanta, GA. And here today to help me with the news and feedback and everything else from her lakeside studio in South Carolina. She's a doctor, a skydiver, a marathon runner, strength training junkie, IPA connoisseur, commercial multi-engine instrument rated pilot, Dr. Steph.
Hey, Captain Jeff. It is so great to be here with you all. Thank you for waiting on me to get started this evening. I really appreciate that. Looking forward to a great show, and I think there's some great feedback for us to tackle today, too. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. All right, welcome. And also joining us from his studio in the English countryside, a professional photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, former captain for an international airline based in London. It's Captain Nick.
Hi there, Jeff. Fantastic. It's almost like I haven't been speaking to you for the last 44 minutes. But anyway, great to be on the show. Looking forward to kicking it off and getting going.
Always telling everybody our secrets. And from his studio near the Concord Covered Bridge in Smyrna, Georgia, barbecue master, motorcycle rider, pontoon boat skipper, underwater photographer, and captain for a major U.S. legacy carrier. His name, Captain Dana.
Wow, great to be back. It's been a while. Looking forward to this show this evening since it's been so long.
We are looking forward to it as well. We missed you, Dana. Glad that you're back with us. All right. Well, you know what? Let's start off with Captain Dana since we haven't heard from him in such a long time. Oh, hang on a second. One of the things I think we missed, Dana, was the fact that you celebrated something quite recently. Is that true?
I sure did. And one of the reasons why I missed one of the shows, as a matter of fact.
Okay. Well, you celebrated a birthday, and we have some feedback that one of our APG community members sent in. Let's play that, shall we?
Sure.
Dana's birthday, 2019, in 3, 2, Some of you may have heard of the Yiddish words schlemiel and schlemazel before. Most of you may only be familiar with them as nonsense words from the opening of the 1970s sitcom Laverne and Shirley. But they're not at all nonsense words. Not only do they have specific definitions, but as with many Yiddish words, they have a deeper meaning. Technically, the word schlemiel means a fool. Not just a fool, though, but often a very likable person who just seems to always be doing foolish things without realizing it. A schlemazel, however, would be defined as someone prone to misfortune. But again, it's more than that. For a schlemazel, bad luck just seems to happen upon him. A more classic definition of schlemiel and schlemazel is this. While a schlemazel's toast always falls butter side down, a schlemiel always butters both sides of his toast. Perhaps my favorite way to define these words is through an old story. There are 3 people sitting around at a dinner party. The schlemiel spills the soup. The schlemazel has the soup spilled all over him. And the third person, the dopus, just sits there saying, "Oh, what a shame." One of the beauties of Yiddish is that many words are from the soul. One word offers you an explanation of not just an object or emotion, but a whole feeling. For example, as I'm describing and defining these terms for you, I have no doubt you're saying, "Yeah, I get it. I know people like this." Or worse, you may be saying, "He's describing me." Now, there's nothing wrong with schlemiels and schlemazels. They're often wonderful people, but frequently, by happenstance, sometimes by actions, they fall into these categories. Ever watch the TV series Seinfeld? Jerry's a real schlemiel. George is no doubt a schlemazel. And Kramer and Lane? Well, they're obviously dopus. The entire show, all 11 seasons of it, can be summarized in 3 Yiddish words. So why am I again pontificating and boring you with my limited knowledge of Yiddish here on the Airline Pilot Guy? Well, it's for a celebration of a friend I only got to meet this year, but who I'm so happy to be able to call my friend. Now understand that I want to make this clear. My friend is an amazing guy, but it often seems if it weren't for bad luck, he'd have no luck. By definition, that's a schlemazel. But even with all of that, he is amazing and has overcome so much to get to where he is today. He grew up in a very rough and tumble town, Brockton, Massachusetts. But unlike so many others from there, he fought his way out of it and eventually became a captain for a major airline. But even that wasn't without its struggles. Yes, I'm talking about my friend Captain Dana, a truly terrific guy, so kind, so caring, and so genuine. But what luck he has. If he spills a beer, it's going to be on his brand new computer keyboard. If a microphone goes bad, it's going to be his. And not only that, the lifetime warranty won't apply. If a newly purchased boat is going to have the wrong propeller shafts for the engines, it's going to be his boat. If there's a scheduling glitch, be it training, flying, or weather delays, it affects him. If a disruptive passenger is flying somewhere, it's going to be on Dana's flight. And if an electrical issue is going to occur, well, he's going to be the pilot in command. Yes, Dana's a schlemazel, which is never anyone's fault. But he proves that bad luck like that can be overcome. Dana has such resilience, such amazing abilities that it doesn't get him down. It only makes him better. He smiles and perseveres through those challenges, fights his way around them, and only becomes stronger. He's an example to all of us, and I'm so happy to be able to have met him this year and spend time getting to know him. I'm honored to be able to call Dana my friend. So happy birthday, Captain Dana, from all of us, but especially from your main man, Micah.
Oh,
Wow.
my.
Nice.
I have to give it, that's a true, and I'm going to go all the way from the lower gut, and I'm going to bring it all the way up through my lungs. Wow. That was absolutely amazing. And you know what? He's so right in a lot of ways. And I have to say in Yiddish, a dank. A dank is thank you in Yiddish to Micah. That was amazing. And so nice to meet you, Micah, too. And I consider you a very, very, very close friend and a fantastic person as well. Thank you.
Very nice of him to put that together for you. That was
Yeah,
nice.
absolutely.
What a lovely compliment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's so true. I mean, who can have worse luck than me? But yeah, you're right. I mean, I just get through it. And, I'm fortunate in other ways. I have a friend of mine that has had 2 engine failures in his first couple of years as a captain. And I knock on some wood. I haven't had to deal with that. So, but yeah, it's been fun.
Okay. Well, part of your. Oh, I'm sorry, Steph. Do you want to say?
I was just going to say, I don't think we had the chance to say it, but happy birthday from the rest of us as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I'm an old man.
Ah.
I believe somebody else's birthday is around now too, so I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Soon. Soon.
Very, very soon.
Very soon. So
Like in the 4 days.
yeah.
Virgo,
We share that in common. We're both Virgo the Virgin.
Yeah, you're flying for the wrong airline, Mel.
I know. You got to fly for Virgin.
Yes.
And the tendency of a Virgo is to be very, very picky.
Picky.
Perfectionist.
That explains so much, doesn't it, Jeff?
It does.
It does. It sure does. I like everything perfect. If it's not lining up perfectly, ugh, God forbid.
I do too, and that's why I chose you all to be my co-hosts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Hey, so
you didn't choose me. I was just happened to be happenstance.
Yeah, that's not true. Anyway, so did you do something special for your birthday, Dana?
Yeah, I did not work. I
Okay.
actually worked the system I was supposed to work on my birthday, but for me, that's a national holiday. And so I was brought up with a very strong heritage in birthdayism. So I always celebrate birthdays pretty hard. So I decided that I went ahead and did what's called a personal drop, and it actually worked out. We had coverage even on a Saturday. So I was supposed to work the 22nd, 23rd, 24th is my actual birthday in August, and drop that. So I was able to join 7 total of us, 5 Acme, 1 non-Acme, actually 2 non-Acme, 1 United, and a private pilot on a fantastic 4-day venture odyssey through the Alabama, North Carolina, Tennessee, and North Georgia mountains. And I said Alabama has mountains. Yes, they have Mount Chiha, which is the highest point in Alabama. And what a beautiful place. They have a restaurant overlooking the valley. When I say the valley, over there towards Talladega National Forest, which is where Talladega Raceway for NASCAR fans is located. So we could see that. It's a beautiful area. And so we had 4 days of absolute bliss on the motorcycles, including Tail of the Dragon, Chirahola Skyway, Moonshiners 28 for anybody that knows any of those. And the best part about best part about it was hanging out with 7 great guys. And, a lot of times when you get people like that together, there tends to be a little bit of drama. There was absolutely no drama whatsoever. We all got along and we all rode great together, except for they put me in charge of being in the lead again. So, because I just know the area so well. I've done, I actually just this past trip, a total of over 50,000 miles on motorcycle riding. And of that 50,000, at least 35 to 38,000 miles of it has all been through that entire area. So I'm very familiar. And I've got to say, very fortunate to have such beautiful, great riding right here in the Southeast. Actually, arguably some of the best riding in the country. So that's what I did on my birthday for the 4 days, and that's why I missed you guys recording on the 22nd.
Like that was worth missing the show for that.
I'd say so. I hate to say it. Missed you guys. Thought about you guys. We actually, I couldn't have. I thought at one point I was going to be able to join, at least to say hello, and that just wasn't going to happen.
And then just concentrate on having fun.
I did, and then so I picked up a 3-day trip. If I had not done so, I would have been off from the 21st of August through the 19th of September. But I did pick up a good 3-day Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday trip, and I have to say, it was the first trip this summer that I had no issues. So it was a very easy 3-day trip, 3, 2, 3, like 3 legs first day, 2 legs second day, 3 legs the third day, and done. It was
all right. Let's just keep it that way from now on.
It was a Jeff trip. It certainly was. It was definitely more of a Jeff trip for sure with his seniority. So, but I was very fortunate to pick it up, and that's about it. Now I'm leaving next week. You're going to miss me again if you're recording. Well, yeah, I'll be gone all week.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
I'm going to Cozumel with the Acme Dive Group. It's a great time. It's an all-inclusive resort, and going to be scuba diving for the entire week. And I'm going to be taking a lot of photographs. As a matter of fact, I spent yesterday getting my camera ready and went and bought a new dive light to help with the dive light, but a photographic light for underwater, and got everything ready. And my computer's all charged and batteries changed and ready to go scuba diving for a week.
Excellent. We can't wait to hear about that trip when you're back again with us. Anything else before we move on to the next contestant?
Nope. Great being back. Thank you for having me. And miss everybody in the chat room. Miss everybody out there. Been listening to the show, and just great. I'm sorry I didn't talk more aviation. This is an aviation podcast.
Yeah, we have plenty of time to talk aviation for the rest.
All right, I'm going to shut up now.
All right. So I'm looking at somebody's hat right now, and it's a very nice looking hat. By the way, we actually have some of those hats left over. I don't know exactly how we get you to pay for them.
I'm gonna wear this one out, and then I'll need a replacement. So hang on to one for me.
Okay, I'll hold on to some extras.
Thanks.
Anyway, Captain Nick, how have you been, sir, since the last show?
Oh, just busy. I've got this lecture coming up on a new subject, so I've been gathering information about that and creating a series of slides to show. So yeah, it's been keeping me busy. Last Plain Tale kept me quite busy, and I've got to produce another one in the next few days. And then, of course, we've got a few visitors coming. Looking forward to that. And life's ticking over very nicely. Thanks so much. And in the meantime, I've been slipping on down to our nearest Audi dealer and inquiring about a new set of wheels to replace my old airport car, because I think now I'm retired, now's the time to do it.
Just new wheels, or like the rest of the car as well?
I hope it comes with the rest of the car. Otherwise, they're going to be really expensive wheels.
Sure. Well, I can't wait to see the new vehicle when you get it. You'll have to tell us all about it.
I'm sure it'll be lovely. Yeah, I will. But no, not much going on here. Looking forward to just relaxing some more.
All right. Excellent. I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, it's not even that. It's
the
21st. Yeah, week and a half, when we both get together at Frankfurt for the meetup with Marcus and the Omega Tau podcast. And we're also meeting up with Ollie and Stefan. And they do a podcast as well. Come Fly With Us, I think it's called. But it's an all German podcast. So I have tried to listen to it, and I'm going, I don't understand this podcast.
I know. It's just like, I don't really get any of it you're saying.
Sadly, unlike Marcus's podcast, they don't alternate between English.
Well, I mean, Marcus, when he's speaking English, sometimes I don't understand what he's saying.
I think Marcus's English is better than ours.
Oh no, his English is fine. It's just that the things he's talking about.
It's just the subject matter.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's what happens when you've got a brain the size of a planet. Yeah,
apparently.
Exactly right. So we're looking forward to meeting them at Frankfurt, and it's brilliant that you're able to pop over. That's going to be fantastic. We can share a stein or two and fall asleep in our cups.
It's probably going to kill me, but yeah,
well, it probably will. That German beer is really nasty.
I'm just talking about the time.
If I was thinking, I should have moved my vacation to that week. That way I could have gone over with you guys, but that was kind of stupid on my part.
Oh well.
Before we move on, there was one other thing I wanted to mention that I'd be remiss from not mentioning aviation-wise, and that's a very important event that happened yesterday, and I don't see it anywhere that we're talking about it.
Oh, we are going to talk about it.
Okay. All right. Then I'll leave it alone. Continue.
Very good. Let's see. Stephanie.
Yes, Jeffrey.
What have you been up to?
Well, I do have some aviation stuff to talk about. How about that? I, on Saturday, took a little trip up north, about like 580-ish miles north of here. There's this little town called Toronto. You may have heard of it.
Is that in our country?
No, it's in
it's another
Canada.
Country.
Did you need your passport?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes, you have to take your passport there. So they're quite friendly, but yes, that's a requirement.
I'm thinking we know somebody that lives up there.
You may remember this friend of ours who lives up there. Her name is Liz Piper. Oh yeah, she's our producer.
Yeah. Oh, is that who she is?
Kind enough to host me for just over a day, and we actually went out to the I think it's called the Canadian National Expo. I might be getting that wrong. Liz will correct me. Which is a big yearly fair exhibition type deal, and they also have the Canadian International Air Show that happens right along the lakefront there in Toronto. So we spent the day watching displays from a couple different demonstration teams. I'll get to that in a second. We also were joined by Stephen Ivey, so that was really cool that he had the day off and was able to come up and join us for that. Interesting air show because chance to see a couple of demonstration teams I had not seen before. That included now technically I have seen the Red Arrows, but I think they've really only ever done kind of flybys at Farnborough and the various events we've been to in the UK. So it was nice to see them put on kind of their full show and demonstration. And we also saw the Canadian Forces Snowbirds. That was a lot of fun. The Red Arrows actually opened the show on Saturday, and then the Snowbirds closed the show. And then in between, there were all kinds of various aircraft to take in. I think a Yak 50, a couple of A-10s, MiG-15, the Airbus A400M. There was a demonstration from a helicopter search and rescue team. They were jumping into the water and pulling people back out of the water. I'm sure the water in Lake Ontario is quite chilly this time of year too, or any time of year. So I didn't really, I would not want to be one of those exhibitioners. Yeah, I like the water in my lake. It's still a nice, balmy 82 degrees Fahrenheit at least. And yeah, I mean, it was just a great day. I mean, the planes were great, but also great fun to spend the day with Liz. Very appreciative of her hospitality and hosting me for the day, and awesome to see Stephen Ivey. So that was a lot of fun. Had perfect weather too. I mean, Toronto really outdid itself with kind of mid 70s and mostly sunny. Really nice. Great fair food too. Little tiny donuts. Delicious.
That was a highlight.
I'm not sure about the beer choice. We ended up kind of standing in front of one of the beer tents because we tried a couple times to sit in the grass and watch the show, but it seemed like everyone was kind of cranky because the seating area in the grass, the walkway was in front of it, so people would keep walking back and forth in front of the people sitting there and stopping and taking pictures. And I mean, you can't blame them for that entirely. Yeah, and there was a lot of that going on. A lot of like, just complaining and griping and whatnot. So we decided we didn't want to be like those. I know, I was completely blown away by that. It seemed very un-Canadian to me.
Yeah,
I suspect it may have been a lot of visitors from
and just tell us what
US.
Beer you were drinking, Steph.
Yeah, so we ended up standing in front of this beer stand, and the only thing they had on offer for beer was Coors Banker or Coors Light.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
What's wrong with you Canadians?
Well,
didn't they have what are some nice examples of Canadian beer?
Molson,
yeah, and something Labatt's, right?
I don't know. Yeah, nope.
They didn't have that.
Not at this particular beer. They may have had other. I think they had some wines, but Steve and I just wanted beer, so we ended up drinking a few Coors apiece. And
yeah, I saw that picture of the two of you drinking Coors. I'm thinking, What are they doing? Must be out of it.
I mean, we would have had to, I think there was other stuff for sale elsewhere in the exhibition, but we would have had to walk, quite a ways away.
Yeah.
And we had a nice spot. All the friendly people are the beer drinkers standing in front of the beer stand.
Yes, as it should be.
Kiosk. Yeah. No complainers there.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Anything else, Steph, or shall I move on?
No, I think that was it. That was kind of the beginning of our Labor Day weekend. Came back for the remainder of it and just back to work this week. I will be similarly on vacation next week. So might be interesting trying to put things together for next week's show.
Okay, well,
we'll figure it out.
Do our best. We'll work
Come
around.
scuba diving, Steph.
I think she has
Are
something
you
else
certified?
No.
I can get you certified. Once you come, I have an open space in my room. Nobody join me. I've got
Tempting
an
offer.
I get an instructor down there with me. I can assist.
Yes, this is Justice's vacation that he has planned for us. So I'll be elsewhere. But
you'd appreciate that. Hey, I'm going to go down with Dana, stay in his room.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Justice.
Yeah. Have
Better
fun on
offer
your
came up.
That's true. I don't think of it in that way. So
no, not at all.
Completely plutonic.
Yeah, we were just fooling around there, so to speak. All right. Let's see. Speaking, last show, I believe, in the midst of the show, kept getting telephone calls from Acme trying to assign me trips, green slips and stuff, and I turned them all down. But one opportunity came up after the show. They had a couple of flights or a couple of trips to retirement flights for the McDonnell Douglas 88, MD-88 airplanes. And one of them I actually put in for both of them, and I ended up getting one. And I flew ship 984, which is a November 984 Delta Lima. I don't know. That's kind of an odd number and letter for Acme. But anyway, flew that out to San Bernardino. Now, I had done one of these earlier last year in ship 926. And I said I would never do this again. But that was on regular rates. This was on double pay, green slip pay. And this, instead of doing it all at one whack, like flying it out there, taking the 2-hour van drive to the Los Angeles International Airport, and then immediately getting on another airplane and deadheading all the way back to Atlanta, which is, I think it was worth like 8.5 hours. A lot of time in the airplane, and it just wore me out. And that's why I said, I'm not going to do that again. But this one had us getting into LAX. It was on a Saturday. They didn't have any flights that left Los Angeles right away, so they couldn't legally make us wait until the red-eye flight at 10:30 at night. So had a nice layover in Los Angeles at the airport. And then the next day, I was supposed to be on an early flight in the morning to head back to Atlanta, but I went ahead and moved it to a little bit later deadhead flight so that I could watch the Belgian Grand Prix on Sunday morning. So it worked out to be a nice little vacation. Well, not really a vacation, but kind of a fun trip. Ship 984, let's see, total hours, 72,883, and total landings, 52,790. So I guess the 52,790th, or however you would say that, was mine. The last landing in ship 984, most likely, unless they change their mind and bring it back. So at Acme Airlines, we are retiring one or two every month or two. I'm not sure exactly what the number is. They have slowed that.
By the
22
end of the year. By the end of the year. And there was 5 this weekend.
But they, that, as you know, that number is fluctuating, just like the DC-9s when they were retiring, and the 727 and the L1011 fleets. They come out with these schedules and they say that they're going to be all gone by this point, but that's all, that's just supposition. It's all based on the number of airplanes that we're getting deliveries of new airplanes coming in to replace that seat capacity. But regardless, took one of them into the desert, and another airline, American Airlines, who flew a huge number of Mad Dogs, ended up flying their last I think they had like 24 to go, that they all retired yesterday. I believe the 4th of September were their last revenue flights. And I think they're all in Roswell in the desert, not Roswell, Georgia, but Roswell, New Mexico, except one. I believe there's still one out there that is going to be used for de-icing training or something for the next 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know. Why would they do that? But anyway, was looking through, and this is one of those hashtags that you should look for on Twitter, hashtag Super 80 Send-Off. Lots of good stuff in there about a lot of these last flights that they performed on the Mad Dog over at American Airlines, including one that I have a little bit of audio from, where the captain gets on and addresses the passengers. And this is a Dallas-Fort Worth to Chicago O'Hare flight, flight number 80. Normally, flight number 80 is Dallas to London, I believe, for American Airlines. And this one was Dallas to Chicago O'Hare for the special last flight of this aircraft. And let me play the little snippet of audio that the captain, the PA that captain gave to the customers.
And Beetle, glad to have you with us. We appreciate all you guys that love the MD-80. We all love it. That's why I've been on it since 1987. Not to brag, but I've been on the airplane longer than some of you have been alive. And just to tip my hat to all you youngsters, I have about 21,000 hours on it, which is about 2.4 years. I've lived 2.4 years on this airplane, 882 days, equal to about 21,000 hours. And Greg will probably have to pry my hand from the yoke after we get to Chicago, because I don't want to leave. I understand my next airplane I might have to learn French. And I don't want to do that. Anyway, it's great to have you all on board. We'll try to make this as fun as possible. Probably some more festivities in Chicago when we get there. And so glad that y'all are on this last passenger flight for American Airlines on the MD-80. Kind of a sad day for me. I've been dreading this for so long because I've had so much fun on this airplane. And thanks to all of you who have paid for my mortgage, my cars, my kids through college, braces. I've been on this since 1987, except for a couple of years. And it's been a great career. I could walk away today and be happy. I have 5 more years to go. Unfortunately, the MD-80 doesn't. This airplane, many of you probably know, was the last one, I believe, to roll off the assembly line in Long Beach. This is the last MD-80 made. And this afternoon we'll put it to bed out in Roswell. As we take off, Fort Worth's on the right. We're departing south from runway 18 left, Dallas on the left. We'll turn out to the right and fly out over Fort Worth. And I'll be back with you after takeoff once we get up to our cruising altitude. Flight attendants, please prepare for takeoff.
Wow.
21,000
hours. Now, I thought I had a lot of time in the Mad Dog. But he's like a lot of the guys at Acme Airlines, Dana, who initially were trained as a first officer, and they stayed on it long enough to switch over to the left seat. Oh, that's kind of sounds like somebody I know.
Yeah.
Right here with us, Dana.
Right here.
And we have a lot of people like that at Acme that did the same exact thing. So I'm sure that many of the folks at Acme have close to that number of hours on the airplane. I only have 12,000 on it.
I'm right behind you.
17 and a half years. So yeah, there you go.
I'm not very far behind you. Yeah, it's you mentioned 984. In 984, I flew just 2 days before you took it to the desert. As a matter of fact, I can relate to this captain the way he feels, because when we arrived in Atlanta from Birmingham on that very short flight on 984, maintenance came up and met the aircraft, and he said, "Yeah, this one's going to the desert this weekend." And how ironic is it that I knew that, and Jeff came up, and Jeff actually flew the airplane to the desert I'm of course very jealous of that. I've never done that, but anyways, I teared up and took a lot of photographs, knowing that was the last time I would ever fly Ship 984. So it's humbling because this aircraft has been around for a very long time. It's been a very reliable, very much the workhorse of American's fleet, our fleet, and in my opinion, probably one of the most long-lived, other than the 5.7, I think, aircraft in most anybody's fleet. I think it's outlasted the length of the 7.2 at this point, maybe.
I don't know.
It's close. It's pretty close.
Right.
I mean, we're talking. This came into service in '87, so that's what 32 years of service for us so far, and it's going to be longer than that. So, in American is very close to that, or an exceedance of that, I think.
Yeah.
And the L1011 wasn't around that long. DC-10 wasn't around as long. 757, I think, is the only aircraft that in 7.5 and 7.6 are an exceedance of that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It has been out there for quite some time. Micah asks, he's in our live chat room, were you able to fly that trip in shirt sleeves, or were you required to wear your uniform? And when we do ferry flights, such as these retirement flights, Micah, it is not a requirement for us to wear our uniform. And normally I do, but this time I decided I would just wear the kind of clothes that I would wear when I go to training. And so I was wearing khakis and a long sleeve button down shirt, and kind of felt weird, especially walking up to the gate. And the gate agent looks at me and goes, "May I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm here to fly this airplane to San Bernardino." And she said, "Oh, okay." Showed her my ID and all that kind of stuff. So, but it just felt weird flying in the airplane without.
It's the gray hair and the mustache that just gives you that instant credibility, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, this guy is definitely just gonna fly.
You shouldn't need your ID. You could just get on. Yeah, that's no problem.
ID.
By the way, you've done 1 year and 4 months on board, so that's not bad going. Yes.
A whole year of your life dedicated to the Mad Dog.
Yeah, it's like the irony of it, of course, I've mentioned many times, it was the airplane I was never going to fly. I never flew it as a first officer. And I thought it was just going to be a quick stop before I jumped back over to the Boeing fleet, the 737. But after I started flying it, I'm thinking, I don't know why people always give this airplane such a bad time. It's really not that bad. And in fact, it's kind of fun to fly. And then I started getting seniority, and I went, oh, I like the seniority thing. I've been hearing folks talk about this for many, many years, and I never really understood it. It's like one of those things where you don't really understand it until you get it, or you have it, and then you go, or it's taken away from you, right? Or you give it up on your own volition.
Yes, I know.
So, but anyway, yeah, seniority is a very nice thing, and so here I am, 17 and almost 17 and a half years later, still on it. And I kind of felt, I could kind of identify with this captain's PA when he said, "Hey, I have 5 years left. Unfortunately, the Mad Dog doesn't." And we're still hoping, or I am, that I'll be able to somehow work a miracle and stay on the Mad Dog fleet, whether it be the MD-90 or the whatever, before I retire. But if I have to move to something else, we'll move to something else.
Well, and I have to say, Jeff, she just reached out and grabbed your heart, the Mad Dog. I mean, once you started flying and got used to it and realized how great of an airplane it truly is, and everybody's naysaying it, it's because it's not a Boeing, it's a McDonnell Douglas. It's just not it's just not the same airplane.
It's very idiosyncratic, and it's hard to describe. But when you first start flying it, you're just going like, wow, what is going on here? It's like, it doesn't feel the same as most airplanes that have hydraulically actuated control surfaces, and because you're activating control tabs to move the control surfaces, and it's like a big 172, really. When you think.
How can you not love that?
I know, it's like,
right?
It's fun. Yeah, once you kind of adapt to it, your brain kind of understands what's going on. Then you go, I kind of enjoy this. This is very nice.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Hey, I was kind of skeptical when he said that this was the last 80 that flew, that went off the line in Long Beach, and I think that can't be right because we fly MD-88s at Acme, and so I looked at the tail number of this airplane that this captain was on that flew that last Dallas to Chicago O'Hare flight, and sure enough, it was like delivered to TWA in January of 1999. And I think our last M88s were delivered before 99. I think they were mid 90s. I think
Yeah,
were some
96, 97.
Yeah. The 90s, I think some of the last ones were like late 90s for us. But yeah, sure enough, TWA was absorbed by American, and they ended up picking up these airplanes. And yeah, it was the last one that was off the assembly line at Long Beach Airport. So it was interesting, I thought.
And Main Man Micah had mentioned regarding my comment about the Mad Dog 80 and the Mad Dog 88 that it has not outlasted the 737. I actually would say that it has, because it's the variant. The 737, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 700, 800, 900. Those, I don't think any of those variants have lasted as long as, let's say, an MD-88 has. You see what I'm saying?
Individual, not the
individual variant. So the whole 737 line, I would absolutely agree with you, man, Micah, that it has outlasted, obviously, because it's a 1950s design, by the way, early 60s.
That was the 73, the initial 737. Did that come out before the DC-9?
I think it was right around the same time.
Because it wasn't very. The DC-9 is part of our family.
It sure
heritage.
is, but just the long, and it is DC-9 right up through 717.
Because really, what we were flying is a DC-9-88,
exactly.
DC-9-90. So
all right,
the 737, 737-100, then the 200. 200 was around for quite a long time.
Yeah.
But I don't think any one of the specific variants have ever outlasted the 80 series. And specifically, if you look at the 81, 82, 83, and then the 88 series, I don't think that you'll find the 737s.
Well, I think this is one of those things where just go ahead.
The first DC-9 entered airline service in 1965, according to Wikipedia. And let's see about the 737.
That might have been 63. I might be wrong.
Oh,
hasn't outlasted the Cessna 172.
No, that is the. I'm talking about 152 and 172. Those are the longest around.
1967.
67. So I went 2 years.
Actually, initial model was launched in February 1965. Blah 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 blah. First, who knows? Somewhere around the same time.
Okay.
How about that? I think 1967 is what it is.
Yeah. So, well, we can argue about this in the bar. So
yes,
why don't we continue the show here by moving off that subject? But basically, we just wanted to mention the fact that, and we have been talking about it on and off for quite some time, the impending retirement of all of Americans' Mad Dogs, and looks like now they're pretty much all retired. But we're still flying them. So if you're out there and you want to fly on a Mad Dog, Acme is your ticket. And speaking of tickets, actually, that's not a very good segue, because General Electric Aviation did not send me any tickets, but I did get a goodie bag from them, and I meant to put some pictures in here, but I'll try to remember to put them in the show notes. Got a challenge coin, only one though. So if I take my challenge coin and tap it when I'm around you, Nick, do you still owe me a beer?
No.
Oh, because you have to have one. Dang it. Yes. Oh, well. Some stickers, some GE stickers, a nice book, a GE Aviation history book, and a ball cap that I've been using for my walks, General Electric Aviation. So thank you, GE, for sending the goodies. I asked them to send a whole bunch of others because there are 4 hosts of the show, but not sure if they just ignored that.
They don't care about the rest of us.
Yeah,
we know our place.
Yeah. They know I'm a Rolls-Royce bloke.
I'll hand out the goodies that I have left over to you guys when I see you next. Okay.
Oh, good. The leftover goodies. We like those.
Well, I mean, I'm not really leftover. Somebody, I don't
pass me downs.
Yeah.
Whoever wants to challenge
the bits you don't want.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's
We
what you
know
call
where we
an
stand.
Indian
where
gift
we-
giver.
Okay, moving on. Let's see. Anything else here? Yeah. I was going to have a meetup, a very quick, short notice meetup in Oklahoma City the other day, but didn't get there. We had a little mechanical issue and had to switch airplanes, and a couple hours late arriving, and it wasn't a long layover anyway. So sorry, Alex, in Oklahoma City. We were going to meet together and perhaps some others, but didn't get to do that. So no meetups for me, at least, since the last show. And none really scheduled until the one in Frankfurt. So looking forward to that. So if you're listening and you're in the Frankfurt, Germany area, make sure you come out and hang out with us. Wow, look at that big donkey you have there on the microphone, Nick.
Yeah, I know. It's good, isn't it? Very nice.
Hey,
Big.
It's almost as much as it's almost like the JA right behind the microphone. Only kidding.
Okay.
Love you, Nick.
You see
No, you
mine
don't.
back there?
Oh yeah,
I've got your number.
next to the Chihuahua.
Yeah, next to the Taco Bell Chihui Hui, who sings, which I did not know. So my thanks to the Van
The
Ram
actual.
yeah, although I think this one's been around for a while. I'm not sure if it's
It's not
supposed to
singing
sound
very
like that. It sings like I sing.
Oh.
So
Okay, so very, very nice. Okay.
I could play it for demonstration.
So I don't know if was it the last show that I tried to make some kind of a funny little comment about facet and facetious. I think it was.
Yeah, it fell a little
maybe.
flat.
Yeah. Well, I started thinking about it, and I'm thinking, well, I think that those two words are associated with each other, but apparently the only similarity they have is the letters. The way they're spelled, the first 5 letters of facet and the first 5 letters of facetious are the same. But when I looked up the etymology of the two words, not even closely related in any way. So that is one of those.
You're killing our percentages, Jeff.
I know we're way below 50%,
Yeah.
or I am. Sorry, I'm bringing everybody
One
down.
comes from face, the other comes from witty.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I kept looking for, the roots and, from the Greek roots and the French roots and that kind of Latin roots, and no. Anyway, I tried. Okay, so I just
What
needed
can we
to-
say? You're very trying.
Yes, I am. Thank you. For those who know me, that is so true. All right. With that, shall we go on to the coffee fund?
Please.
All right, here we go. Please.
Johnny, how much more coffee? No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup.
Yes, the Coffee Fund is your way to support the show financially. And since the last episode, we have a couple who used the Coffee Fund Classic method, a recurring payment from Randolph Ackerman, and a payment from Edward Lahaney, or we know him as JJ Pittsburgh. So thank you guys for contributing to the show via the Coffee Fund Classic method. And the other way to do it is to become a patron of the show via Patreon. That's patreon.com/Airline Pilot Guy. And since the last show, we have a couple new producers. Yay! We have Matthew Key and Paul Shelton. And a new executive producer, Marianne McNally. So thank you, Marianne and Matthew and Paul, for joining the Coffee Fund cadre, the Coffee Bar Fund, or whatever you want to call it. We really do appreciate it. If you want to join these wonderful people, head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. You learn all about how you can become part of this august group. Thank you.
Stand by for news.
But before before we do that.
Oh,
Steph. What?
I have no idea.
So what on earth is that?
It was
Press it
the
again.
Chihuahua singing.
Sing. It does kind of sound like Stephanie.
That's exactly how I sing, which is why you've never heard me sing on this show, because it's not good.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, very impressive.
Anyway.
Okay, we got that in. All right. Moving on to the news.
Stand by for news.
We should get a graphic that says news for anybody out there who's creative and wants to do that for us. All right, let's start off with the first item in our news folder. And this involves one of two airlines that we're going to talk about on today's show who shut down and basically disappeared, supposedly, and have now reappeared. Midwest Express announces airline relaunch at the Milwaukee airport. It's making its way back to Milwaukee. The Midwest Express brand will be in the air by the end of 2019. The airline announced Wednesday at Milwaukee Mitchell International Airport. In August, Midwest Express entered into an agreement with Elite Airways to provide flight operations for the Midwest. The Elite Airways aircraft with Midwest Express branding will fly to 3 destinations out of the Milwaukee airport: Cincinnati, Omaha, Nebraska, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. Midwest Express President Greg Aratakis said the airline saw a serious need for service to these 3 cities based on historical data and feedback from the community. We received input from many local businesses regarding their travel needs, and this feedback factored into our choice of initial destinations, he said. And Midwest Express operated from 1984 to 2009. It was based in Oak Creek and operated from General Mitchell International Airport. In 2010, the airline merged with Frontier Airlines, and the Midwest brand disappeared in 2011. They were nationally recognized for nonstop service to Midwestern cities, great customer service, comfortable seating, and warm chocolate chip cookies for passengers. They were the DoubleTree Hotel of airlines, I guess. When we started, they didn't put that in the article, I just added that. When we started talking to customers about what they wanted, we asked them, "What are you looking for?"
Cookies.
Cookies, of course. Hot chocolate chip cookies. What I think is amazing to a lot of people is that the big seats weren't the first thing on everyone's list. It was convenience. Milwaukee County Executive Chris Abale said the county is excited that travelers can get nonstop flights out of their hometown airport. Providing nonstop flights to key business destinations fills an important niche, or if you're French, niche. And we couldn't be happier to welcome Midwest Express back home. So, little blurb about Elite Airways. Dana, you've probably seen Elite Airways, at least in one location, Melbourne. That's where I always see them.
Yep.
They're flying RJs, and looks like they're based in Portland, Maine. I had no idea that Elite Airways was based in Portland, Maine. And as of August 2016, the airline operates a fleet of 1 Bombardier CRJ-100. Didn't even know there was such a thing. 5 Bombardier CRJ-200 aircraft, both fitted with 50 passenger seats, and 5 Bombardier CRJ-700 aircraft fitted with 70 seats. Of course, that was 2016, so 3 years ago, so I'm sure their fleet has changed a bit. But anyway, so that's great that they're coming back.
And more jobs for our wonderful listeners who are trying to get into the civil world.
Yes. Yeah. Now, if you're listening and you need a job, a flying job, and you're in Africa, you can maybe put in your application with Uganda Airlines. They disappeared nearly 20 years ago. Well, not disappeared, but they stopped operating almost 20 years ago. After a delay to flights that lasted nearly 20 years, Uganda Airlines has once again taken to the skies above Africa, restoring its status as the country's national carrier. This is from CNN.com. Commercial services resumed on Tuesday with a flight from Entebbe to Nairobi in neighboring Kenya that the airline hoped will usher in a profitable new era for the formerly debt-ridden brand. Uganda Airlines said its fleet of twin-engine Bombardier CRJ-900 regional jet airliners will soon connect to destinations including Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, Mogadishu in Somalia, and Juba. Is that the way you pronounce that? J-U-B-A? Juba?
Yep, I'd say so. Or
Okay.
Juba.
South Sudan. More farther flung places will follow. The airline's director of marketing and public affairs said.
Cheat.
Pardon?
You cheated. You didn't read out her name.
Bamuturaki. Jennifer Bamuturaki.
Very good.
Yeah, you didn't have to point that out.
You did. I'm proud of you, Nick.
See what I did there?
Yeah.
Just skip the name. I'm not going to try that one. Services to the Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, Rwanda, Zimbabwe, Ghana, South Africa, and Rwanda. Well, they said Rwanda. Huh. Well, they're going to go to Rwanda twice. Apparently.
So good. They
Yes.
said it twice.
Just like go around a cylind.
Stomach cramps.
Stomach cramps times 3.
Time 3.
Anyway, so that's interesting. Apparently, the revival of the brand, originally founded by dictator Idi Amin in 1977.
There's a history for you.
That's a worry. Yes.
They were grounded in 2001 amid financial difficulties.
Funny old thing.
Yeah.
Colourful tail, don't you think? And it looks like their logo is a secretary bird.
Is that what that is? It's not a rooster?
What kind of bird?
I think it's a secretary bird. I don't know. I think it's part of the flag of Uganda.
Oh.
Okay. What is a secretary bird?
It's a bird that types very well. Does about 30 words to the minute.
That's not very well.
That's better than me.
That's dismal.
Well, it's not bad for a bird.
Yeah, I mean, if it's only got, some talons to hunt and peck with. Hey, I had to step away for a moment. I'm sorry there. Are we definitely having the fresh baked cookies come back with Midwest Express? Sounds like. Maybe
Did they
maybe
say
not.
definitively they were going to?
No, I don't think they did.
I don't think the article said that. I mean, they mentioned the cookies. They have a picture of them.
Wasn't that the best part of that airline? People just love the fresh baked cookies.
The caption for the photo of these chocolate chip cookies. Passengers can expect Midwest Express's legendary chocolate chip cookies when they board a Midwest Express flight by the end of the year. Now, that's according to Alana Watson. What does she know? I don't know. Maybe somebody told her when they were doing this news article. But yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Anybody out there who flies Midwest Express can let us know if you got your hot chocolate chip cookie.
Outside a rumor now. They're going to find a use for the MD-88s. Grow. And there you go.
That's.
By the way, I misidentified the bird.
Uh-oh.
It's a gray.
It's an accountant bird.
Just a regular old bookkeeping bird.
It's a pencil
gray-crowned crane, I'm afraid.
Gray-crowned crane?
Yeah.
Well, I can see how you got that confused.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry about that.
I mean, to be fair, it's got kind of a reddish tail and crown on the. I think they've taken some liberties, perhaps, with the.
It's more of a cartoon-looking bird than a real one.
Yeah, secretary bird is apparently more eagle-like body with crane-like legs.
Kind of looks like a roadrunner.
A little bit. Have you ever seen a roadrunner in person?
No.
I was amazed at how tiny they kind of are. I was, my whole childhood, I feel like I was lied to with the roadrunner being this giant, colorful bird. And in real life, they're kind of these brown, smallish birds. They do run fast. I'll say that.
You watched a little too many cartoons.
Too many cartoons.
In your childhood.
Yeah, fair enough.
Keep vamping here. I'm going to try to find my Roadrunner sound effect.
Beep beep.
Beep beep.
We can make that for you. No,
Where are you?
Sounds like a guard.
Oh, come on.
You failed us again.
Yep, I can't find it. Oh well.
Beep, beep.
Beep, beep.
Beep, beep.
Listen to the very end of the show. You'll hear it. Okay, moving on to item C. Who wants to tackle this one?
Sure.
Okay.
Somebody volunteers jumping at the bit there.
I'll continue talking.
No,
but
I can go.
Tired of hearing me.
Nobody wants to hear me.
This
So I'll
is,
shut up.
this is from CNN. Yeah, CNN on August 30th. Air Canada has to pay $15,000 to a couple because the word lift was not engraved on seatbelts in French. En français.
You're kidding me, right?
So what is lift in French?
I have no idea.
Oh, great.
Not in terms of like
do some
opening a
research on
seatbelt. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, let's see what else they have to say here. A recent complaint turned lawsuit, however, led to a windfall for two travelers, not the airline. This week, the federal court ordered Air Canada to pay more than $15,000 US or 21,000 Canadian dollars and send formal apology letters to a French-speaking couple in Ottawa for repeated language equality violations. Élève. Yeah, that's right. Élève. The lawsuit concerned more than 22 complaints that Michelle and Linda Thibodeau, no idea, filed against the airline in 2016. The couple complained that the word lift was engraved on the seatbelts in English, but not in French. They also alleged that the French translations of the words exit and warning were in smaller characters than the English words. And finally, that a French language boarding announcement at the airport was, bless you, less detailed than the English.
Wasn't fast enough.
Air Canada systemically violates the linguistic rights of francophones, they argued, according to the judgment for the case.
Francophone.
Censor. That's the word for lift. Censor.
No, I think
No, that's an elevator.
Elevator. You want
the
something
elevator.
like le vol.
Elevator.
Yeah. Look at
Elevator.
Le censor is
No, that's an
lift.
elevator.
Elevator, but it's lift and lifter as well.
Yeah, but
Well-
it's the noun lift as opposed to the
go to
verb.
the APG crew chat, Dana, and you'll see what Liz typed in there.
Okay, I'll look at
We'll
it.
trust her as the resident Canadian here
Yeah.
for the moment. Yes. So basically, signage must be of equal equality. Blah blah blah. Let's see, there's some word. Oh no, here it is. The wording of Official Languages Act of Canada. So this is the actual law, I suppose. The purpose of this act is to ensure respect for French and English as the official languages of Canada and ensure equality of status and equal rights and privileges as to their use in all federal institutions, in particular with respect to their use in parliamentary
blah, blah,
proceedings
blah,
and legislative and
blah,
other
blah,
instruments.
blah, Why don't they just put a little arrow? Or would it have to be an arrow in English and an arrow in French?
Yeah, it has to be. What was the word that they used?
Bilingual.
Quality of status. So.
Yeah, so you
I
could
suppose
just
this is
put
the
a
problem.
symbol instead of a word.
See, we've
Is how I'm
circumvented this
suggesting.
in the United States by not having an official language.
There you go.
All right, well, there you go.
Solever is by the word is the verb is solever, not elever.
Maybe.
There we go. Just in case you were wondering. Anyway, who cares what the word is? I think this is ridiculous. Wasted.
Well, we're
Yeah,
gonna write
right.
it. You're gonna write it in 5 different languages. You're gonna have to put it in Spanish.
Well, no,
German.
because that's not the two official languages of Canada.
Well, that's true. That's true.
So,
but I
you
can
know.
see it in America now. Now there's going to be. We don't have official language, but everything you call anything or look at anything, and it has to be in 5 different languages nowadays.
I don't think so. I don't think
Well,
it's
Liz makes the good point that you really should know something about the history of Canada and how these two languages have come up side by side to know where some of these difficulties and complaints and laws come into play.
True.
So,
you look at this Official Languages Act of Canada, you look at the wording of this thing that Liz put in here for us, and what the purpose of the act is to do. And it really, none of these paragraphs that are listed here in the show notes have anything to do, in my opinion, at all with, putting the French word for lift on the seatbelt.
not really. No.
It has
And-
more to do with other things like legislative, parliamentary proceedings, administration of justice, communicating with or providing services to the public.
It's about government
Yeah,
stuff.
federal government, that kind of thing. It has nothing to do with, safety on an airplane.
It does say advance the equality of status of and use of the English and French languages within Canadian society. Seems kind of vague.
Yeah.
I will say this, though, interesting experience, speaking of Canada and English and French, and having just been in the Toronto airport where announcements are made in both English and French. There was a glitch with the display screens for the departures and arrivals throughout the airport. It was showing something from like 2 a.m. from the day prior. So it had most of the same flight numbers listed, but all the gates were wrong. So they kept making these automated announcements for gate changes that were not correct, which was kind of funny. But for our particular flight, it made the announcement only in French. So about half the people in the boarding area looked around like, should we go to A9 or do we stay at A6? And no one at the gate there moved. So I was like, I'm not going anywhere. We'll see what happens. So
I guess it worked out.
it worked out fine. I think.
And then when you weren't looking, all the French-speaking people sneaked away.
Oh, I understood the announcement. Just because I can't remember
yeah.
words or think of any grammar points or anything doesn't mean I'm not simple stuff I can understand.
Well, producer Liz does
go to
make
the
a good
other-
point. She says, Steph, you should have sued.
I should have sued because they did not announce it in English. Now, to be fair, the announcement was incorrect. So I'm not sure who was.
Whether it's correct or not.
Double sue.
Yeah.
Sue
Double
for
your
it.
money.
Not only was it not correct, you didn't announce the incorrect announcement in English.
And I'm
Exactly
upset
right.
about
Yeah.
that.
I am-
You give back
I'm
$30,000.
going to need some money.
Oh, I just realized I didn't do the edit on this audio file for the next news story.
Oh,
I
I
even
will
put a
edit this
note in
clip
here that said, I will edit this clip.
and highlighted.
I was wrong. I did not. Okay, let's do this. Okay, item D, or are we still talking about the Canadian French word and all that
I
kind of
don't
stuff?
think so. I think we
Okay,
do.
good.
No.
C'est
No,
fini.
no.
C'est fini.
Okay, item D, Ralph and Michelle or Michael. I'm not sure how you pronounce Michel.
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 Michel, usually.
And others actually sent in links to this incident, various news articles regarding it. And it was in Australia, in Western Australia, about an hour, I think, south of Perth. Is that correct, Nick? Jandakot? Would that be about an hour?
Yeah, it is. No, it's about 20 miles south of Perth. And it's the airport where my niece flies from.
I thought it sounded familiar.
Captain Anderson.
Captain Anderson. Well, anyway, there was a student pilot at one of the flying schools. I'm wondering if it's the same flying school that your niece is employed with.
She works for a rather luxurious tourist travel company.
Okay, never mind. Anyway, he was in his first lesson in a two-seater aircraft. I think it was a Cessna 152, if I remember correctly. And his instructor collapsed mid-flight. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to click on this YouTube article. And
Let's head to Australia now for a remarkable story.
Remarkable.
A trainee in Australia thought his instructor was messing with him when he collapsed during their maiden lesson, forcing the novice flyer to land the Cessna 152 solo. Max Sylvester called air traffic control for help after his Kiwi-born instructor lost consciousness during their flight over Jandakot Airport in Western Australia. Now, his wife and 3 children were watching on as he came into land, along with the flight school owner, Chuck McElwee.
Well, there's an old adage, anytime you make a landing, you can walk away from it, that's a good landing. If you can use the plane again, it's a fabulous landing. And he made a fabulous landing.
I don't recognize that accent. Is that
sounds
Western
southern.
Australia accent?
I don't
like
think
he's
it's
straight out of-
Antipodean, no.
Out of like South Carolina or Georgia or
Sounds
something.
like definitely from the United States.
Yes.
Okay, let's
And I
continue.
noticed the picture in this article. How many Cessna 172s have got retractable undercarriage?
Our 172 RGs do.
Is there such a thing?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yours is
Oh,
one.
yeah.
But what picture
But they
are you
said
looking
down
Well,
at the bottom.
At the bottom, on
Oh.
the next article down. I mean, it looks 172-ish, but I didn't know that any of them had retractable gear. So there you go. I've learned
But the
something
one
new.
I think that the actual incident aircraft was one that I think it was a Cessna 152 or 150, and it had fixed gear.
Oh, okay. So this is not the right airplane. All right, never mind.
Well, it was close by journalism
close.
standards.
Yeah, actually, darn
Close-ish.
Well,
close.
at least it wasn't a 747.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, shall I continue with this little?
Yeah.
All right.
Utterly amazing. Take us
Utterly.
through it. So he's up in the plane. How far through the lesson were they?
They were coming back from the lesson, and we have entry points into the airport, and he had just passed the entry point, and his instructor passed out. And he thought the instructor was just messing with him, but he soon realized that was not the case. And so he proceeded to the airport and told people what to do. I mean, if you've heard the live ATC, he starts saying he's got an emergency. And anyway, the tower comes to the party, and they do their tower thing, and they get extra calm, and they get all the distractions out of the area. And
your job right now is just keep focusing on that aircraft as best you can. Secondary to that is just to keep his head upright and his body upright in the seat. But we're going to get you on the ground very soon and get both of you guys on the ground safely.
And I sent an instructor up to back up the tower if they had any other questions. And anyway, it just all worked together.
Well, that's the understatement of the century, Chuck.
Hey, we need more feel-good stories like this.
Well, so in the control room, you say that, the air traffic controller went all calm. I mean, that person was as cool as a cucumber. So what were they doing? Visualizing the inside of the plane? How do you give someone instructions who's never landed a plane before?
Well, this Jandakot out here, the airport we're at.
Okay,
it's like the
that's enough of
busiest
that.
one has been
Really wish I had the whole live ATC audio, and I was going to just edit it up really so nicely, and it was.
Well, you can do it for the podcast.
Yeah, I could do that. I could
Or
include
not.
that in the audio, and okay. Anyway, so yeah, he
Did a good job though, didn't he?
Yeah, he did a great job. And at some point in the audio, I think he was being interviewed by someone, or maybe it was while he was still flying, but he said that his instructor had said that he was one of the best students that he's flown with. So I guess this was like his third flight, but it may be his first actual lesson. So he had been up in the airplane a few times. He had seen his instructor land, which obviously was helpful. And apparently he has some natural ability, which is definitely a key for him to land the airplane safely.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that happening. That's kind of how I started off with my flying lessons. The first two flights weren't actual lessons that I took, but sitting up front and getting some explanation of what was going on. I think that would have been helpful if he had a similar experience to that.
Right. So good on him for paying attention to what the instructor was doing before he actually had to take the controls himself and land the airplane, and did a good job of it. In fact, there were some comments made by some folks witnessing it that it was a better than average landing that was made by this man.
Yeah, I was watching the video on it, and it's quite. I would almost say picture perfect landing.
Yeah,
for that.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a beautiful touchdown. So
he can just sign off on his license now. Here you go.
There you go. You made it.
So again, I'll probably add the edited audio in the show notes so that people can hear the whole thing. And all right, continuing with item E, a U.S. appeals court says travelers can sue the American government over abusive conduct by federal airport screeners because the agents can act like law enforcement officers, including when they conduct invasive searches. Well, they do wear badges, but they're not really officers or law enforcement officers. But anyway, they decided that, hey, they don't treat you very well at the TSA, and you have a case, you can actually sue them and make something happen.
So do you sue the TSA or do you sue the individual?
I think it's the individual.
I don't know.
Because it says the U.S. government is generally immune from lawsuits. I'm not sure about that. But a federal law allows people to file lawsuits over the actions of officers who can conduct searches and arrest people. So it sounds like the individual to me.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because usually a federal worker or officer would be protected by that protection against, being sued. But apparently not so much anymore. Okay.
Spencer in the chat room says you sue the government.
Okay. Well,
What
either way, you can sue someone. We like that.
We like the suing thing. That's the second story we've had on this show so far about people suing people. All right.
It should be a losers pay system.
Yeah, that would be nice.
That would help it out immensely.
Yeah,
get rid of all these frivolous lawsuits.
Okay, and finally, last item that we have here. This is sent in from Jonathan, and he said was perusing the internet today, came across this great story about an EasyJet pilot who didn't want his vacation flight to be canceled and agreed to pick up for a pilot who couldn't make the flight. I imagine at Acme it would be much harder for this to even be considered because of all the different plane types. But have you heard of anything like this? How about Acme Red? Looking forward to hearing you all discuss. And so the item to which he's referring is thus: Michael Bradley was due to fly from Manchester Airport to Alicante with his wife and young son on Monday, but they faced delays due to a missing captain. Determined not to let the crew shortage affect him, he volunteered his services and took to the tannoy. I've never seen that word before. Is that correct, Nick? Have you ever seen that either? Tannoy? Tannoy?
A tannoy. Yeah, it's a bit like calling a vacuum cleaner a Hoover. It's a form of personal address system or broadcast system made by Tannoy. So in our country, for example, it's now generic with the system.
Kleenex, Brownie, well.
Yep, there is a name for those products or those manufacturers that
Styrofoam.
get
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Never heard of that. So thank you. So he went to the public address system to inform his fellow passengers of his decision. And there was he made the announcement in the airplane in front of the passengers, and several people were videotaping with their, or video recording with their telephones. And I have a little bit of audio. I actually did do this, and you can hear him explaining what's going on to the passengers of this flight.
Wife, who's on row 50 with my little boy, hopefully he's asleep by now, she'll keep it down, I'll get told off. She rolled over and punched me in the back of the head and said, our flight's delayed by 2 hours because they are -1 captain for the flight. The reason why? They've already cancelled the Budapest today, they've cancelled the Paris, the Faro is 3 hours late, and there's several other airplanes that are going 2, 3, 4 hours late, who knows. So just before we went through security, I thought, I wonder if this is worth a phone call. I think it is, because I'd like to go on holiday. So I phoned up EasyJet and said, hiya, I'm standing in the terminal doing nothing. I've got my license with me, deliberately, from being punched in the back of the head at 3 a.m. I've got my ID with me, and I'd very much like to go on holiday, and if you need a favour, I'm standing here ready to go. And said, we'll phone you back. 38 seconds later, they phoned me back and said, please, pretty please, with a big cherry on top, can you fly the airplane to Alicante? We're going to position another pilot out from some other base to bring the airplane back here. I thought, I'll stick a pair of shoes on just in case. So if you're all right for one of your pilots to look like for this today, we'll go to Alicante. How's that sound? Right, the other thing is, the reason why originally it said 2 hours on the board is they're waiting for a captain to come from Liverpool. he was on home standby. So they have to phone him out. It takes him 90 minutes to get to here. That's just to get to the terminal. That's before he...
Anyway, so he goes on a little bit more, but you get the picture. He said, hey, I'm qualified to fly this jet. I work for this company, and I'm not in my uniform, but let's see what happens. The thing that concerned me until I heard him explain this during this PA was, well, okay, so he's going to get the jet to Alicante, but what happens then? I mean, how are they going to get, is he going to fly it back? But as you said, they were going to position another pilot from another location to Alicante to fly the airplane back.
That's the first thought I thought of. How are they gonna get? He's going to get it there. He's going to get to go on vacation.
I don't care. I just want to go on vacation. I don't care about anyone who needs to get home afterwards. That's not important. Obviously.
Or you could say, he could kind of insinuate or whatever, let them know or think that he was going to fly it back. And then when he gets there, goes, oh, no, I'm sorry. That's a misunderstanding. I'm on vacation now.
I feel terrible suddenly.
Good luck. Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway, that's a cool story.
Yeah, it is cool. I can't imagine I'd be quite so keen to list all the delays and failures that my company had to that resulted in this, because I would have by all means stood up and said, look, just in case you're worried, I'm actually a qualified captain. I was passengering, and now I'm going to fly the airplanes, hence I'm not wearing my uniform, and just got on with the job. But it did sound a little self-serving to me.
But at the very beginning of that, he did blame it on the French air traffic controller strike.
Oh, did he? Okay,
yeah.
right. Well,
and that's why all
the other flights were canceled.
Yeah.
So,
but he should have. I would have re-emphasized that. I would have started with that and ended with that. Oh, by the way, did I mention it was the French air traffic controllers that messed all this up for us?
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. So,
but we've had a few cases where we've had deadheading or passengering pilots. You get a pilot go sick, and they've held up their hand and gone, well, I've only had a couple of beers. I could step it.
I just have a little buzz.
I feel fine.
No worries.
So no, I'm pretty sure we've had that a couple of times. I remember chatting to a skipper who flew out or flew home from somewhere in his jeans because he didn't have a uniform with him. He volunteered to operate a sector.
I'd be a little concerned about the fact that this guy's wife hit him in the back of the head.
Right?
You mentioned that a few times.
Yes.
I think she was the one who was really keen to go on.
Not happy about the fact.
We're not going to be late for holiday.
No, you can get paid to take us there too.
Win-win.
Me.
Very nice.
I've thought about that with us there, Jeff. I don't know it because then that's circumnavigating seniority. They didn't put it out for.
I guess it depends on the seniority system.
I mean, they have to put it out on. I would imagine they have to put it out as a white slip if you're not on reserve.
Well, if you're an Acme, because you guys kind of get paid extra. We get paid a salary. I don't know what his policy is, but I doubt very much they work the same system as you.
Yeah, Dana makes a good point. Yeah, that would be extraordinary if something like this happened at Acme. Or
I guess I could see maybe it happening if the next nearest pilot was very, very far away. Like they would have to come from.
And they said just unusual circumstances. And
right.
Sorry,
they must have a caveat where they can use that excuse, surely.
Yeah, I don't know.
But if it's only 2 hours and it's got to go to the most senior person, then
operational necessity or something.
You know what would happen, Dana? Probably whoever it was supposed to go to, they would have paid them as well, even though they didn't actually show up and actually fly.
Yeah, that would be great. You just sit at home and someone goes, "Oh, here, have $1,000."
Perfect. No, okay. That'd be a lot more than that, but yes.
I was flying with the guy that he said that he just got this call from the company or ALPA and said, "Oh, by the way, you're going to get paid for a 2-day trip that you were supposed to be awarded like 5 months ago." And he said, "What?" He didn't
even know about it.
He didn't read it or anything else. But I guess they do an audit on occasion to make sure that they're following the proper protocols for assigning trips. And they found out that not only he but some others should have been awarded these trips and weren't. And company made right with it. And so he said he got a couple extra bucks in his paycheck for not even doing anything. So
excellent. I love it.
I guess you have to kind of, that's part of the balance of things, right, Dana? Because sometimes we get the other end of the stick.
Right.
Dana seems he gets it more than everybody else.
They take money away from you for working? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite that extreme.
No, that only happens in medicine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, actually, sometimes.
Uh-oh.
That doesn't sound good at all.
I won't go into it. This is not the.
We'll keep taking your money away until morale improves.
That's right.
Exactly. Well, I'll continue
We're not
drinking
happy until
morale.
everybody's not happy here. Okay.
That's the FAA.
Time for your feedback.
Captain, incoming message.
Does anybody require a break?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. We shall take a break.
A
brief
break.
intermission.
That was hard to say.
Let's see here. I'll put this right here. Intermission. I'm going to stay here, I think, while everybody does their little break. How's everybody doing in the chat room? I should put your comments back on. All right. Hello, Kelly Kirk. Josine. Liz. I just want my wife to stop hitting me. There you go. I don't care if I get paid or not. Just tell her to stop hitting me in the back of the head. Well, let's see here. Main man Micah still hanging with us. Tim W. Spencer Nelson. Who else is there? Scrolling backwards. Tango Delta Whiskey. That just rolls off the tongue there. Jordan Baus. Hey, Jordan. See if I can find some intermission music. Probably not, but I'm going to try anyway. Here we go. APG standards. And I'm afraid to play this one because I'll probably get some kind of a copyright something or other. So I will play this one instead.
Shut up, Jeff.
It's a strange intermission. What's going on there?
What's that?
Mail.
Ah.
I kept getting all these Amazon notifications. It's like ding, ding. Like I've ordered a lot of stuff in the past few days.
Oh, very nice. Some good stuff.
I don't remember. Let's find out.
Okay.
Like 3 packages here.
Better make sure you it's something that isn't
this
embarrassing.
is a pair of gloves.
Oh, ooh. I'd be careful with that stuff. Because, it is.
Family show, ladies and gentlemen. Family show.
All right. Go ahead and. Oh, I thought it was going to be a nice fade out, but apparently not.
Sorry.
Okay. What are you doing?
They always just package things in like the most crinkly wrappers. Like it's a bunch of
I know.
headbands.
Don't they know that you're going to be on a show? All right. Let's go back to our feedback folder. Let's see. 42 is when we started. So we're at about, what did we say? About not quite. We're getting close to an hour and a half, if I've done my math correctly. So in about a half an hour, we'll do the plaintail, which is a really good one. Don't want to, well, they're all good.
Jeff, you're right. Your calculations are correct, by the way.
Regarding, the time?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Now, this one here from Omaha Todd. Oh, he's going to be upset that I didn't let him know that I was in Omaha. Well, he could have known if he had looked on my schedule.
Should check the calendar.
Yeah.
The schedule. Yeah.
That'll teach you, Todd. But yeah, I had it was a nice leisurely time in Omaha. Walked over to Blatz, I think they call it. It's that little place that's up toward the ballpark, the home of the NCAA World Series every year. And I think it's called Blatz. Have you ever been there, Dana? Do you ever go that direction when you're in Omaha, or do you go back toward the city?
Actually, last few times I've been in Omaha, my buddy Mike has picked me up, so I haven't been there.
Oh, you're right. It's the place that we went to, Dana, that we had the meetup.
Yeah, that one time we had that meetup was that's the place you're talking about.
Right, yeah, that place. Yeah. Went over there, had a salad and a couple of beers. Oh, did you get that from Amazon? Those are huge sunglasses.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the thing about buying.
I'd go for the mediums if I were you.
I think they're one size fits no one, actually.
Extra large.
But for a few bucks, they'll work for what I need them for. So,
okay. For welding?
Yes.
Okay.
My new job.
It's to stop the blood splatter.
So, Nick, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were with us.
I've been with for ages.
Looking at the video screen, and I didn't see you. So I didn't know you were sitting there. Okay, so we can continue now with the show?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Sorry. And what I was going to say here, Todd looks like he sent this twice. Maybe he thought he never sent the first one or something. So I'm just going to read the first one he sent. So let's start with our first item in the feedback folder from Omaha Todd. Well, I saw my first go-around today after years of spotting at the Lewis and Clark Monument just east of Epley Airfield, Omaha, Nebraska, Kilo Oscar Mike Alpha, and on the bluff, hence Council Bluffs. Oh, okay. That's really pretty. Just to the east of the Epley Airfield are these bluffs that rise up. I guess that's what they call them, bluffs, on the other side of the Missouri River. Really pretty. Anyway, that's where he was watching the airport operations. And he said, after years of watching operations from here, I could tell something wasn't right. I saw this American Airlines flight drastically maneuvering left and right. They looked high and fast. I could only figure they were trying to scrub speed and altitude. And at about 200 feet above the ground, over the threshold, they pitched up and declared a go-around. And he said he had the live ATC app going on his phone, which is a great app to have, by the way. My question is, how many times have you or Nick, Dana, or Steph had to do this? And what does your company think about it? The air traffic controller asked after they got reconfigured for the reason that they went around, and they said, well, we were just too high. I assume ATC is trained to let them get established on a go-around before they ask why. Yes. And they waited till they cleared the runway. What is protocol for you as a pilot and the ATC? Thanks in advance, Omaha Todd. Hope you do another meetup. Oh, it was great when Captain Dana joined us the day you gave him his captain stripes. Dirty side down, fellas. Okay, so Todd was one of those who was at that particular meetup at Blatt's.
Yes, he was. And I'll be in Omaha later this month. Check it
Oh,
out.
okay. And
Have a
again,
long
sorry,
layover.
Todd, I didn't contact you to let you know we were there. Anyway, so regarding his observation of the go around, and he had some questions related to it. And so he's asking us how many times. Well, I don't know. I haven't counted how many times I've gone around in my career. Lots. Yeah.
Me. Well,
have you, Steph?
Have I gone around before? Yeah, sure.
I saw you. I saw you go
Jeff
around.
saw me go around.
Yeah, at downtown. In fact, Greenwood,
Greenville.
Greenville downtown.
Yep.
Why did you do that, Steph?
I was too fast.
Too fast?
And I floated halfway down the runway.
Yeah. So that's a good reason.
Yep. I didn't just like how it looked, and just wanted to make sure. I was in the Cirrus, and it's pretty easy to be a few knots fast there, and it just gets into ground effect and doesn't want to land, and it also doesn't like to stop very quickly. So it's nice to have a little bit extra room left on the runway. So yeah, not my greatest approach. Went around, did again, and it was just fine on the second attempt.
And from my vantage point, everything looked fine. I didn't even notice you were floating at all, but obviously you were in the airplane and you could.
Yeah, we were not on the ground there. So it looked like it from the restaurant over there, but yeah.
Other times, what are some other reasons that you've had to go around stuff?
Deer on the runway.
Okay.
Oh dear.
Oh yeah. Dear. Oh dear. Let's see what else. Definitely, especially during training, just approaches that aren't going great, too high, too fast, not stabilized. A lot closer
Practice instrument approaches.
Practice instrument approaches you go around all the time because you actually don't plan on landing. That's you're just doing a practice approach. So at the end of that approach, you're going to go around and set up for another approach just to work on the approaches. You don't need the landings per se there, but you want to practice the instrument procedures.
I was about to say, I actually don't think airliners go around as much as we mentioned maybe earlier.
I saw an airliner go around this past Saturday morning.
I think in the 17, almost 18 years I've been flying at the in the airline business. I've gone around maybe 3 or 4 times. My most memorable one is up in Toronto, Liz, on a snowy afternoon behind a Mad Dog 88, actually 83. American Airlines. It's the first one I ever did as an airline pilot when I was on the RJ. And it was a snowy day, and they used up pretty much all the runway, so we had to go around. So that was my first time ever going around in the airliner. But I haven't gone around a whole lot in my career. And it's not discouraged. I mean, if you're not stabilized, if you don't meet the criteria, and the situation doesn't look good, then certainly they want you to go around because they want you to come through 1,000 feet configured and then fully stabilized by 500 feet.
Yes, they expect us to go
absolutely.
around. We have not met the stabilization criteria for an approach. And I was going to say, for me, most of the times that I've had to initiate a go around was due to the airplane preceding us still on the runway and not clearing in a timely fashion or whatever, like missing that last high speed or whatever. And then just going, yeah, this is not going to work out. And then the tower controller usually is the one that says, yeah, go ahead and go around. Sorry.
Every single one of my go arounds in the airline business has been for that exact reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have, as Dana alluded, several criteria that we must adhere to. Like at 1,000 feet, be within a certain parameter on the lateral and glide path to the runway, and configuration has to be completed by that point, your landing configuration. And if it's visual conditions, by 500 feet, your speed has to be within a certain time, or not time, but a parameter close to your actual computed reference speed. At 1,000 feet, you might be a little bit fast, but correcting to slow it down to that target. So anyway, very well-defined parameters. I think all airlines have those parameters. They may be a little bit different here and there from one airline to another, but it's not unusual that you'll see somebody like I was in Orlando and we were crossing a runway or holding short of a runway, and then noticed that the airplane behind us on the other runway was going around, and the tower said, I think they have to log these things. That's why
they do.
ask.
They ask if it's a towered airport. They'll ask you what the reason was, and it's not for any purpose other than to just have a record of it.
It's not a punitive thing. It's just
no, not at all.
And I may have misspoke. And I said it probably the wrong way. Most airline pilots over their career don't go around all that much. However, airliners do go around on a fairly regular basis. It's just, I think I misspoke to make it sound like airliners don't go, around that much.
I think everybody understood what you were saying. It's not something that's common. It's not like every trip you're going to go around like once on a trip or something like that. It's maybe once every year or two.
Yeah, maybe. And I'd be interested to hear, Nick. I mean, you have one leg a day that you fly.
Half a dozen or so, I guess. But we'd make many fewer approaches. Is that the right word, Jeff? Fewer?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah,
I didn't want to upset you.
Make lesser approaches too.
Yeah.
But that's something entirely different.
Yeah. So, the most common cause for me has been air traffic getting us too close to the guy ahead, or the aircraft landing in front doesn't clear in time. You think about it, we almost exclusively do instrument approaches in my sort of world. So it's usually much easier to be stabilized. So unless air traffic have left you uncomfortably above the glide slope before they release you to make your approach, or they've given you an unrealistic speed constraint, which has left you unstabilized, it's pretty rare. But I've my first command course trip with a training captain, he went around from a bounce, which was quite interesting. So we landed, bounced, and went around, and he got completely discombobulated. So actually, I was sitting there because I had not quite as much as to do, and it had been a bit of, he was flying it, so it had been a bit of a shock to him. We kind of did it together rather than if you see what I mean.
Team effort.
Yeah, it was very much a team effort, because I was just sitting there going, I think we should probably lift the gear now. Yeah. Oh yeah. How about some flaps? That's a good idea. Good idea. You carry on.
Excellent ideas. Excellent.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Fantastic ideas. And Jeff, don't we? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nick. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, and my most dramatic one for me was on one of my final command of check rides. I doing my very first landing into Los Angeles on the Santa Monica arrival, which takes you downwind, and I'd never flown it before, never landed at LA, and I had a first officer beside me who I was having to translate all the RT for him because he didn't understand the American accent. So, and then as I was expecting to go a reasonable distance downwind before being brought in to 24 left, and about half that distance down, she turned me right 90 degrees and changed the runway on me. So I was now expecting to do a localizer on a 24 right, and I was way high, and it all just got too much. We just couldn't configure the aircraft, slow it down fast enough, get the new ILS frequency in, etc., etc. So it just turned into a shambles, and I went round.
Said, forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
nope. It will be better on the second attempt.
Exactly, and it was. But I had to refly the trip. But there you go. That's life if when you're an airline pilot.
Yeah, and I was going to comment on you, Nick, and that is that how when you go around, we do it so infrequently, we become, it's kind of like, well, what do we do next? What do we do next? We now have a policy at Acme that we are supposed to brief that on a regular basis. I'm trying to remember whether it's once every trip.
Yeah.
Or if it's once, I think it's once every trip is what we're supposed
Right.
to do that. So we brief that continuously.
Yeah, I like that. And in fact, if ever I saw a situation where it looked like we were going to end up being sent around, the guy ahead was being slow off the runway, I would always give a mini brief. We might go around. If we do, it is, and I would just shout out the instructions just so he would we both be in the mind of how it was all going to occur. Because I don't know about you guys, but in the Airbus, there are 3 very distinct types of go around depending on the altitude at which you fly it, and they particularly the ones down at low close to the runway are the ones we always practice. The other 2 you very, very rarely do, and they are flown in such a different manner that it can be quite confusing. You can get yourself tied into a knot.
Can't use the same procedure for all 3.
You can't use the same techniques.
Like
or
you're
you
gonna
can
go around it, 1,000 feet.
The passenger going,
a good technique is always to advance the power and pull the nose up. But if you pull the nose up, advancing the power, then the houses get bigger again. So that's not an advisable technique.
But,
exactly
sometimes
right.
you might have to just like wave off the approach and not really do a go around and put in toga power and put the pitch up to 20 degrees nose high or something.
Here we go. Go around.
Let's level off, folks. You paid for a ride, we're going to give you a ride.
There you go.
And of course, some go rounds you'll continue descending because you're above the missed approach altitude, and you need to fly down to it before you can level off and then go around in inverted commas from that altitude. So that gets in.
Yeah,
well,
that's we talked about this. I don't know if you're
going into LA, for example,
or LA or San Francisco or something in California. Yeah,
there's a restriction. You got to be
2,000 foot missed approach altitude.
Mhm.
If you're sent around from above that, you have to continue descending and level at the missed approach altitude, because otherwise you'll go straight through a visual flight corridor, and all the little Pipers and Cessnas will get very upset.
But the point about, sometimes we can, sense that something is not going quite the way it should be ahead of us. And that's when people that have good airmanship will start saying, okay, in case we have to go around here, let's kind of go over this, toga power, blah, blah, blah. Well,
I always like that because it shows you're thinking well ahead of the airplane. I like pilots who do that.
Yeah.
I did misspeak earlier. I said all my go-arounds have been because of aircraft on the runway. I did have one go-around, which was a wind shear event, not low to the ground, but in Denver, which is quite common occurrence, especially the winds coming pretty strong over the top of the Rockies and into the valley. We did have a wind shear. So I did have one go-around, which was a wind shear event.
Yep. I had one in the 727 that was a wind shear, and it was a doozy. It was a doozy.
Now we have one more question from him.
Yes, we do. He says, have you ever found a safety of flight issue that grounded the plane on a pre-flight walk around?
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing your job if you've never found something that's grounded the airplane.
Why we do the walk around. Make sure that it's airworthy.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, when you're walking around, it's missing an engine. It's kind of a dead giveaway.
Yeah, sometimes you miss that one.
Yeah, that one's a tough one.
Or the wing's gone or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm sure the same thing.
Can't say I have. No.
Oh, really?
Really?
No, my airplanes were always beautifully maintained and well looked after. And I used to go around with my dark glasses on, like Steph, so I couldn't see anything anyway.
In a walking
if you don't see it, yeah.
You're that guy was talking about on the last
On
episode.
April Fool's Day.
That's right, yeah.
Like, it didn't look like he was really doing anything. Laura,
No,
That's right.
I was just posing with my dark glasses on. And
doing selfies.
I'll tell you what, there's frequently things wrong with general aviation aircraft, and best to get it checked out by maintenance before you take it flying. So I found oil running down the side of the engine cowling, but on the opposite side of where the oil dipstick is and fill. So I'm not sure where that was coming from. And also a flap track, like where the flaps run along, that was just all bent out of shape for some reason. Like someone overspeeded the flaps.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Did not fly on those days.
Good for you.
No.
All right. Thank you, Omaha Todd. and hopefully we'll have a chance to get back together again some other time. And just a reminder to folks, at least a couple of us that have schedules that we know about in the future, we try to remember to put them on the APG community calendar. And if you will look at the calendar, you can see my trips and where I'm going to be and that kind of thing. And if you think that there might be an opportunity to do some sort of a meetup, just contact me and we'll see if we can come up with something.
Same with me. I put my schedule up there as well, and I will be in Omaha later on in September. So reach out
sounds like a meetup to me.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Item 2 from Ramiro. Hello, APG crew. No coal shoveling jokes this time from me. Thank you. But I do get a smirk on my face every time someone mentions the Mad Dog running on coal on the podcast. Yeah, we do too. When you guys read my email on the show, I rewound it and played it for my wife, but she was less impressed about my email making it on the show than I was. She just doesn't get how big a deal it was. They don't get a lot of things.
You really made it, Ramiro. We played your email. Yes. Big time.
Let's see. I have 2 topics for you guys today, but I will try to be brief. First, I have to start out by calling out Dr. Steph. I listened to her talk about visiting 11 states over 3 days in order to beat her dad to all 50. I, too, am keeping track of the states I've visited, but I don't count a state if I only connect through the airport. For example, I've made many connections through both O'Hare and Midway in Chicago, but I still don't count Illinois as a state. I don't count Illinois as a state I've been in. It sounded like you counted a few connections. Okay, I know these contests are subjective and you can set your own rules. So congratulations for getting to all 50 states. So he kind of called you out a little bit, but then he kind of backtracked a little bit, I guess.
I wrote back to him. I said, we had set the ground rules for the contest in advance, and I certainly understand. I have an aunt who did not understand why we would ever consider counting that as having visited a state. But I will say that in all cases, I did actually leave the airport. So
there you go.
Even though I was just there for a connection, I left security outside, got fresh air, sunshine in all cases.
I went to museums.
I went to museums. I drove across other state lines.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I was just outside long enough to walk off the airport property and then walk back to the airport and get on the next flight. But in all cases, I was actually standing outside of the airport in the state I was supposed to be in.
I think we just got a ruling from the judges. The judges say, yes, those all counted.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
tense moment there for a moment. But no, I had my aunt I was referencing said that she wouldn't count a state unless they actually went to do some sort of event or activity in the state. So she has driven across multiple states like Nebraska, Wyoming, but never stopped other than to use like a rest area. Doesn't count it as having visited it. It's like, but you saw the entire state driving across it. That counts to me. I don't know. I would not count connecting at a foreign airport if I don't leave the airport and actually cross the, through immigrations and customs and be admitted into the country.
Right.
So geographically you stood there and saw things, but have you been in the country? Have you visited? Not really. So I'm with you, Ramiro. We're on the same
Ramiro
page.
says he's really jealous of your dad because he got to go to Hawaii and you went to Maine. No offense to Maine man Micah. just love Hawaii.
Well, they don't serve Maine lobsters in Hawaii,
yeah.
No.
Actually, I do prefer the food in Maine to the food in Hawaii, I will say. But I'm jealous a little bit too because my dad got to take a helicopter tour of Oahu, which was really awesome looking. So.
Oahu?
Oahu.
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 I'm trying to make a little joke.
I know.
I do another correction of the next show.
Thought maybe I could match your intonation there, and I kind of failed at that. And then I thought I would have a joke for it, and I didn't. So
yeah, well, we try here. We do try. But there are hundreds of comedians out of work. We should be more respectful of them. Okay. By the way, there's an iPhone app called States that you can use to track the states you visit. I'm only at 18, so I have a long way to go. Only 18. Almost embarrassing, really. I shouldn't have even brought it up. Ramiro, when you send an email, you can actually go back and delete all that.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
But you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, 18, that's better than 17
You know,
or
there's
16.
probably a very embarrassing number of people in our population in the United States that have not even left their own towns.
There's
It's
a
very
lot of them.
true.
Mhm.
A scary amount of people never left the state. Anyway, new topic. On episode 388, you guys talked about the Delta 757 that experienced a hard landing in Ponta Delgada, which means the skinny end, by the way. Oh, I was born in the Azores Islands on the island of Terceira.
Ding. Close enough.
Thank you. And I left when I was 5 years old, but I still have family there to this day. Captain Jeff probably landed there at lodges a few times. Yep, in the Air Force days, flying the C-141. The airport on Terceira is also a U.S. Air Force base. Oh, so I guess I have been there. Have you, Jeff, or any of the APG crew ever spent any time on the island of Terceira? Oh, so I'm confused. Is that where Lodges is? If Lodges is on that island, yes. If not, no. Jeff or any of the APG crew ever spent any time? Oh, I just read that. I haven't been back there in 30 plus years. I bring it up because although I'm an American citizen, I grew up in the U.S. It's nice to hear the Azores get a mention. Most people couldn't find my birthplace on a map or even aware those islands exist. That's true. That's true.
It's true.
It's true.
Thanks so much for the podcast. It feeds my aviation passion like it needed more fueling. Ha. Blue sky, tailwinds, and plenty of coal. Wait a minute. I know I said no coal jokes this time, but I just couldn't help myself. I'm weak.
It's an illness.
Yeah,
It's okay. The rest of us suffer from it too, except for
Ramiro,
maybe Jeff and Dana.
on you.
But Nick and I certainly will join you in those references.
Absolutely.
Hey, if you chew on gold, if you chew on coal and you
make a diamond,
you can make a diamond.
It's a lot of
So it's
pressure.
a diamond in the rough.
And a lot of heat.
Yes.
Speaking of Ponta Delgada, the what do you say? The skinny end?
Skinny point.
Skinny point. Let's see. This sent in by Christian and Larry. Links to articles regarding the fact that Delta, I guess, rented or leased an Antonov 124. I saw it, by the way, in Atlanta on one of my trips.
It was just in Charlotte too, or one of them was. But anyway.
Flies to Ponta Delgada to save Delta's stranded Boeing 757. So the article talks about the fact that it brought some stuff, some equipment that will help.
Speed tape, lots and lots of speed tape.
And like scissors, snips, like, what do they call those? Tin snips.
Yep.
And who knows what else. But, because we kind of surmised or pondered whether or not the airplane was damaged so much that you wouldn't be able to salvage it or fly it again. Now, it could be that they're just doing whatever's necessary to get the thing in airworthy-ish condition to fly back on a one-time ferry flight back to Atlanta.
Yep.
And after that, or to somewhere out in the desert, and then after that, it's gone. That would not surprise me if that's the deal, or it wouldn't surprise me if maybe the damage was limited and didn't do enough significant damage to completely destroy the airplane. I don't know. But
I agree. We all reckoned it was looking too nasty to be airworthy. But you're right. I do remember a story of something similar when one of my old man's VC-10s, he wasn't flying it, I don't think, but it went through such severe clear air turbulence going over the Andes in South America that it broke the airplane, and they decided to fly it home with no passengers, just a volunteer crew. And when they got it back, the engineers at Gatwick looked at it and they worked out that the wingtips were like 18 inches closer to the ground than they should be.
Oh no!
Yeah, the entire spar of the aircraft had been bent. The box spar for the wings. So it was. It never flew again. They took it to pieces and used it for spares.
One has to wonder who would volunteer to fly that airplane.
There was
Well,
a guy called Flash Phillips, as you can imagine from his name, that he was a bit of a joyrider.
It wasn't Crazy Larry?
No, not this time.
Fireball. Oh my gosh, what was the NASCAR guy's name?
I don't know.
Something or other. There's, yeah.
See, now with my luck, the wings would have fallen off.
So we had another. I mean, I heard
Fireball Roberts. I think it was
Fireball Roberts.
Yeah, as a
There was
NASCAR
some
driver.
company that had a hard landing here at Greenville Spartanburg, or maybe it was Greensboro, somewhere with green in it. Maybe it was Raleigh.
One of those places in.
Could have been
now
Raleigh,
you're not even
Durham.
close. So somewhere in the Carolinas.
Somewhere in the
Great, got
Carolinas
it.
that really pranged it on and broke the broke the airplane, and they did one flight after that, a special one-time permit from that wherever that airport was to someplace out in the desert. That was all she wrote on that one.
Yeah,
so
happens.
Yeah. So what, Steph? What's this you thought was funny? Did you want to mention that on the show?
No, I
not?
didn't. That was just for us.
Okay. Then I probably should. What do you think? It's getting close to the time where we'd
I think we're right about
do
the,
a plain
We're right
tale.
there.
Okay, this one's it's not uplifting, I can tell you that, but it is very well done, Captain Nick, and excuse me, Old Pilot, and I think that everybody will enjoy listening to this. So, without further ado, this week's installment of the Old Pilot's Plain Tales.
The Old Pilot's Plain Tales. Rammstein Flugtag 1988. A word of caution. Descriptions in this story are vivid and may not be suitable for a younger audience. A little over 31 years ago, it was a hot and sunny day at the United States Air Force Base at Rammstein, near Kaiserslautern in West Germany. A perfect day for their annual air show. People from all over Europe attended, but the majority of those enjoying the spectacle were Germans, many from the local area. It was estimated that about 300,000 people were wandering around the exhibits from air forces all over the world and lined up along the crowd line, watching the displays for which the Rammstein Air Show was famous. In a time when Germany was still divided, some 43 years after the end of the war, with NATO forces in the west and Soviets in the east, it was a moment when Americans and West Germans could come closer together, giving everyone a taste of burgers, fries, and American ice cream. The display that year included many flypasts of NATO aircraft and display teams, such as the Assas de Portugal and the Patrouille de France, but the best and most impressive display was brought on last as a suitable end to a wonderful day's flying. The Italian aerobatic display team, the Frecce Tricolori. The Italian Air Force team was formed in 1961, and by 1988, they were flying the Macchi MB339 advanced jet trainer. The Italian team were famed for some of the most daring formation maneuvers on the display circuit, and they were keenly awaited. In the crowd were families, aviation enthusiasts, politicians, and military personnel from all over, but many were just there to enjoy an inexpensive day out in the sun. A visitor from Holland said, at that time, plane spotting was still a really exciting thing. In the midst of the Cold War, many countries completely forbade the photography of aircraft. Here in Rammstein, however, you could do it officially during the air show and see aircraft close by, which you could otherwise hardly ever see. We were with around 200 spotters who had traveled to Germany specifically for this event. At 20 to 4 in the afternoon, the 10 aircraft of the Frecce Tricolori lifted off to start their show. It went well, with the crowd enjoying the spectacle, and each maneuver getting oohs and ahs from the audience, particularly the most densely packed area at the center of the display line, where the biggest crowd was. After several minutes of what was a great performance, the team started one of the most impressive parts of their display, the pierced heart.
The section downwards roll in the sky, the shape of a heart. That shows our love for all of you. The love that we brought all over the world.
The item started with the whole team running in towards the center of the crowd in a single formation. As they approached the crowd line, they pulled up into the vertical with their smoke on. 5 aircraft split from the formation and performed a quarter turn away, completing a loop, but now parallel to the crowd line. The other half of the formation, 4 aircraft, performed a mirror image of the same maneuver, and the number 10 aircraft, now a singleton, continued to loop away from the crowd. The team had now split into 3 separate entities. The 5-ship and the 4-ship had pulled up, turned away from each other, and were now looping down and coming at each other head-on, aiming to cross at crowd center, with their smoke trails leaving the distinct outline of a heart, which would be completed as they crossed at the bottom. It was the singleton's job to finish the gesture by piercing the heart with an arrow made of smoke. To do this, Lieutenant Colonel Ivo Nattarelli had to complete his loop, the first half of which was away from the crowd, by pulling through towards the crowd, and then pulling up to fly through the iconic shape made by his colleagues in front of him. It was a spectacular visual display, and Nattarelli had performed it hundreds of times before without mishap. With over 4,000 hours of military flying behind him, Nattarelli was an experienced and capable pilot, but this day he made a small but tragic error. Perhaps in his mind he was remembering what had occurred during the dress rehearsal that he flew the previous day. During his loop, he'd inadvertently flown into cloud and delayed his pull-through, resulting in a late arrival to pierce the heart about 7 to 8 seconds after the main formation, instead of the planned 3 to 5 seconds. There was little doubt that he was attempting to adjust his speed to get the correct separation by pulling the power back and putting out his air brakes as he completed his loop. Nattarelli bottomed out of his pull-through at barely 100 feet from the ground and about 600 feet from the crossing formations in front of him, way too close. He tried to pull his aircraft up and over them, but there was no room left, and although he started to climb, it was too late. Many in the crowd gasped as they had already realized what was unfolding. His death was filmed by dozens of cameras amongst the onlookers in front of him as he struck the fuselage of Pony 1, the leader of the team. The front of Nattarelli's aircraft disintegrated in a shower of debris, and he was killed instantly in the collision. Pony 1's Air Macchi, crippled by the massive impact, spiraled out of control to the left, striking his number 2 before the pilot abandoned the aircraft, sadly too low for a successful ejection, and he died when he hit the runway before his parachute had deployed. Pony 2 crashed beside the runway, and the pilot also died in the huge fireball. Within a split second, the team had lost 3 pilots, but this was only the start of the tragedy. By arranging this crossing maneuver to occur in front of the audience, with Nattarelli's aircraft aimed towards crowd center, the unthinkable was about to happen. The remains of Pony 10 would continue on a ballistic trajectory across the runway, completely out of control and in flames, on a path that would carry it into hundreds of innocent watchers, who up to that moment had been enjoying a marvelous day out. The wreckage hit the ground just in front of the spectator stands, exploding in a fireball and destroying a police car parked beside the fence that defined the active runway area. The plane continued cartwheeling for a distance before picking up a barbed wire fence and crossing a road, then slamming into the crowd and a parked ice cream van. A huge fireball of burning aviation fuel spread across hundreds of people there and billowed high into the sky. The barbed wire fence, dragged by the wreckage into those at the front of the crowd, had already killed many, but jagged pieces of debris from the aircraft were thrown indiscriminately into the host of onlookers like shrapnel and would kill more. The fire, however, would cause the most casualties. In the words of a survivor, after the impact and the explosions, there was dead silence for a few seconds. Everyone stared at the inferno. No one moved. Only then panic broke out. People screamed and ran away in all directions. My friends and I started to run as well. After a few meters, I realized that running away actually didn't help, as everything was already over. So I stopped and tried to orientate myself. In front of me, a huge black cloud of smoke rose into the sky, and there was an extreme smell of burned flesh in the air. Even after many months, I noticed this smell in my nose, and I cannot forget it. I walked past charred people, as if being in a trance. Many had burns all over the body and screamed, while others were silently sitting on the ground, staring straight ahead. Another recalled, "An unimaginable heat seized me, and I thought I was going to die now. In front of me, a wing, or at least a large part of it, passed by and shaved everything down. A man was thrown away like being fired from a catapult. Others disappeared in a wall of fire. An incredible pressure pushed glowing hot air into my lungs, and then suddenly there was no air left to breathe anymore. I looked down to see if I was also terribly burned or lacerated. I was not. Now, for the first time, I consciously became aware of the stench in the air. It was a mixture of burned meat, kerosene, fresh blood, and metal. Unforgettable. Terrible screams came from all over. I saw people wandering around who were charred black or snow white, as if powdered with ashes. Everywhere there were people or ripped off body parts lying around. The shapes that were lying on the ground were so melted that I was not even able to tell if it was a man or a woman. A third witness, who was injured when panic broke out, remembered, "At this moment the aircraft must have impacted. Now I managed to get up and run away from it. I was just able to flee behind a container. I do not know until today how I got there, since at that moment the fireball went over us. The container behind which I stood saved my life. The heat was indescribable, and I thought that I would burn to death. The heat was so immense that all the oxygen in the air was gone, and I could not breathe. To what was happening behind me, I could only guess, because I knew that the aircraft had crashed into the crowd directly behind me. What I saw when I came from behind the container was indescribable. Everywhere there were burned people. Some ran around and burned. With many of them, the skin hung from their body. What happened next depends very much on your point of view and expectations following a disaster of this magnitude, where tens of people have been killed and hundreds have been badly injured. It was a major catastrophe. An Austrian reporter has commented at length that amateuristic emergency management cost human lives and that the rescue efforts on the ground could hardly have been more chaotic. He goes on to claim that only a handful of medically trained German forces were on site, as they had not expected a disaster of this magnitude and therefore had not compiled a corresponding emergency concept. And whilst these helpers were left on their own, the Americans used their long obsolete Vietnam strategy, in the barely existing care of the injured, which consisted of load and go. Specifically, this meant nothing more than putting injured people on trucks, in buses and flatbed trucks, and then moving them as quickly as possible to the nearest hospital, a fatal mistake. In stark contrast, an independent assessment by the RAF's Institute of Aviation Medicine tells us that plans were made for the possibility of mass casualties, and the base disaster plan had been revised in February of that year. What's more, it had been exercised twice in the 6 months prior to the accident. It was available in checklist form to a dedicated disaster response team situated in a mobile command post at the airshow, and to team leaders at each medical location. In addition, full cooperation and support was elicited from both the German Red Cross and the nearby Landstuhl Army Regional Medical Center. There were a total of 15 doctors and 163 paramedical personnel on duty for Flugtag. All the doctors were on the airfield except for 2 at the base clinic. A total of 15 ambulances were standing by at the 4 medical aid stations, and a dedicated UH-60 Black Hawk Casevac helicopter, part of a disaster response team, was located on the south side of the runway. Unfortunately, it was this Black Hawk that was destroyed and the pilot killed by falling aircraft debris. However, there was an abundance of helicopters at Rammstein. The first was airborne within 3 minutes of the impact. It was a UH-1 Huey, which had been on standby. 2 other helicopters were airborne in the next 10 minutes. These were soon joined by a Black Hawk from Landstuhl Medical Center, a Royal Air Force Puma, and German civilian emergency helicopters. By the end of the day, 18 military and civilian helicopters had evacuated hundreds of casualties, many flying several return flights. The survivors were triaged, treated, and evacuated from Rammstein within 96 minutes. The speed and efficiency of this evacuation was a result of prior planning, thorough training, medical reinforcement, cooperation with other agencies, and the availability of an abundance of vehicles for both road and air evacuation. There was undoubtedly a difference in the approach of the German and American medical teams. The German approach was to treat and stabilize the injured at the scene, whereas the American response was to move the casualties as rapidly as possible to one of the many local medical facilities. However, this influx of casualties did cause some problems as some hospitals were overwhelmed, but of the 530 patients who were seen and treated, 363 were admitted to 21 medical facilities in the first hours. Over the next few days, many of these patients were further transported to 46 medical facilities throughout Europe and in the USA. Mention must also be made of the bravery of individual members of the public who, instead of running away from the fire, ran into it to save children, put out the flames on burning people, and helped to comfort strangers who were terribly injured. The final death toll came to 70, and 346 were seriously injured. A sadly high proportion were children who had been moved to the front of the crowd so that they would have a good view of the show. Hundreds more had minor injuries, and the mental scars of those who witnessed the event numbered in thousands. The 7 damaged but still airworthy aircraft of the Frecce Tricolori, still flying, regrouped and landed on the nearby airbase Sembach. Over the following months, the Italian authorities considered disbanding the formation team, but despite the accident being put down to pilot error, they continued to fly. Until 2002, this was the worst airshow disaster in history. And for a while, airshows in Germany were banned. Of note, the previous year, when the team had displayed in the USA, the FAA did not give authorization for the pierced heart maneuver. I find it tragic that a maneuver designed to show the team's love for their audience should have unwittingly caused such a disaster. In an interview only 2 months before he would die in the crash, Lieutenant Colonel Nattarelli said,
Every day when I fly, I'm never happy about my job, what I did in the plane. And every day I think I can do better. I think you do something very close to the limits, your limits and plane's limits. But I don't think I do something dangerous.
Wow. Another touching tragedy.
Yeah, it's quite a shocking story, that. It had almost gone from my memory, and partly because it's one of those awful things that if you ever do see the videos and the pictures that were taken by the many thousands of cameras that were there, you realize that some of the people who were holding those cameras perished taking the pictures. And, it's a really heartrending thing to see. So I wouldn't necessarily go and visit the sites that still show those videos unless you have a very strong constitution. It is quite distressing. But of course, a lot of lessons learned. We're talking 88, and in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s, air shows were still conducted a great deal more with the feeling of just pure excitement and much less consideration of crowd safety. If the crowd line had been perhaps 200 meters further back, there would have been almost no injuries at all. That's how close it was between having a safe air show and having an absolute disaster. And of course, afterwards, those type of maneuvers that had an element of risk involved that were oriented towards the crowd were completely stopped. And as you heard, the FAA had already decided that that particular maneuver had too much risk for it to be performed in the United States, and very sensibly. So you find now that, of course, the pendulum has swung to an extent where there are so many restrictions that a lot of airfields can no longer hold traditional air shows because they just don't have that margin of safety available, both on the airfield and in the surrounding area, particularly in the UK after the Shoreham incident. But in the States still, you get some pretty exciting shows, and Oshkosh is one of them. But we saw a very safe Oshkosh this year, I thought. It was very well done.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Liz and I were having this conversation because we just saw the air show in Toronto, and we were both at Oshkosh. And not that the air show in Toronto wasn't excellent, but we kind of felt like we had a little bit of post-Oshkosh blues or letdowns still, just because things are so close at Oshkosh. There's so much space available for a lakefront show that a lot of the action happens a little bit of ways away from you, and it doesn't feel as close or as intimate. So even though the air show itself was excellent, it feels less personal somehow. But certainly that's done for safety or out of safety concerns, I would think, and for thinking back to incidents like this.
That's exactly right. But I think there's a happy medium to be found. But sure. Of course, flying jet aircraft around is it's high risk just by its pure nature, in the same way that motor racing is high risk. Yeah. You have to weigh that up with the feeling that the spectators should be protected, but yet they should still have something to enjoy. Otherwise, it becomes a meaningless event.
I would imagine that the design of these demonstrations and particular maneuvers were affected by this accident, and like the trajectory of the movement of the aircraft kind of away from the crowds and not toward them, like as in this particular instance where that solo was coming directly at the crowd.
Yeah. I think I don't know what the regulations are, but just from watching air shows, I'm aware that the only time they cross the crowd is usually and when they arrive sometimes, and it's usually in a very I would say safe manner, in a manner that is very unlikely to have a problem. So a straightforward fly past over the crowd entering, but from then on, you'll see that the maneuvers are always orientated. So if there is a mishap, it's carried away from the crowd, not towards the crowd.
Yeah. Okay. Well, can't say that was very uplifting, but it was a well-told
Now, I'm sure the people in Germany would remember this, of course, particularly in that area, 31 years ago. And I know there are memorials at Rammstein, some of them not easy to get to because they're on the base, but I think they now have some memorials off base as well. And I know that there is still some bad feeling amongst those who have survived or have lost family members. So there is definitely two sides of the coin on this particular accident. And of course, there were three entities really organizing this. There was the airbase, there was the local German government, and there were the Italian team. And although it was down to pilot error, no one entity has taken responsibility really for following up, apologizing, and perhaps providing some recompense to the families who were so badly devastated. So that's also created an element of bad feeling. But it's an interesting story. I found it fascinating.
Nick, yeah. I mean, just you always do such an amazing job. I mean, obviously a very sad story that we just listened to, but I mean, I'll tell you what, listening back in the last couple of weeks when I wasn't on the show, I mean, you all of you do an amazing job, but your plane tales are just they speak for themselves. So
I love doing them. So thank you very much. It's very nice to hear.
Okay, well,
and I'm probably talking for our entire community, by the way.
Yeah,
more than likely. Sorry, Jeff, didn't.
Hey, no problem. Are you good to go for some more?
Yeah,
Nick?
let's go.
It's getting kind of late.
I can work probably up to mid.
Well, let's continue then with item 4 in the feedback from First Officer Wyatt. He says, well, I recorded a 7-minute update for y'all on my iPhone app, which I had to re-download only to see you have a web-based version on your site. Hopefully this will suffice. And yeah, a lot of people, Wyatt, use the recording devices on their smartphones and attach to email as you did. And then several people use the SpeakPipe app as well. Either works just fine, actually. We don't prefer one over the other. So without further ado, let's hear from Wyatt, and he's going to give us an update on his career.
Hey, APG crew. This is the artist formerly known as Helicopter Pilot Wyatt, now First Officer Wyatt. Last time I talked to you guys, about 1.5 years ago, I was flying helicopters, civilian and military, and looking at making the fixed-wing transition, as they call it. There's a large contingent of guys coming through that are all doing this, trying to seek out greener pastures in the airplane world. So I just want to give an update to you guys, and probably more for any guys who are thinking about either doing the helicopter transition or just guys who are looking at their CFI, looking at it going into the 121 regional world in general. So for my Army transition, I got an interview with an airline which shall remain nameless, still work there, but they basically gave me a pretty sizable signing bonus and also $23,000 in addition to my GI bill to pay for all my fixed wing time that I needed to build. I had to build 250 hours in Cessnas and Seminoles. So all last summer, basically, 8 hours a day, I was flying airplanes. It was great. A lot of times it was, learn how to land, do your chandelles, lazy eights, etc. After a while, it's just you got to go time build. So here's the keys, and go find an airport that we've approved, and go have fun and get going with your cross country time building. So I flew all over the East Coast from Maine to South Carolina in a Cessna, and a little bit further in a Seminole. It was an absolutely fantastic time. Just you and possibly, one of your friends from the flight school going out and getting after it. So that lasted until August. So about 3 months, built 225 hours. So, I mean, do the math on that. It's like 6 hours a day, every day of the week, maybe a day off. So definitely up to the legal limits, but within reason. And after that, my company paid for my ATP, CTP for you guys who have been out of it for a while, or out of the training pipeline for a while. They're making us do this course now where you basically go and do crash investigation studies and watch a bunch of PowerPoints and things like that at one of those contractor organizations. It's a requirement for new guys in the 121 world. And then the day after that, they got me into INDOC. And then after that week of indoctrination, as they call it, the HR week, they started me in the training pipeline. And due to the massive influx of guys coming into the regional world, they're hiring a lot of people right now, and a lot of companies are getting new aircraft. There's a big kind of bottleneck for simulators and ground instructors, etc. So a lot of guys said it was terrible. It was really rough because we had to wait 3 to 4 months that whole time just waiting to get our next phase of training, ground or sims together. So 3 to 4 months sitting around. But I was getting paid, and I did have non-rev. So, it was pretty terrible going to Montana and London and Mexico and Utah, wherever else I went. I just had all this free time and a good paycheck, and basically wherever my fiance would let me go, I was there. It was not so bad. And then we started the simulators and doing our SOE on the line with an instructor pilot. It's kind of an advanced CFI, if you will. The transition was a little challenging for me. I wouldn't say it was all that difficult. I'm still definitely learning it all, and now that I'm off SOE. But if you keep your head down and study and memorize and truly understand, and be able to correlate all those flows and regulations together, it's really not that hard. One thing I really like about the 121 world is there's a lot of scripts and there's a lot of standardized policies. So once you get those standardized policies, there is a lot less room for you to make the wrong inferences or do the wrong thing, because you know what the baseline correct answer is, and then you just use those baseline correct answers to make a better decision. So in the helicopter world, it's just go out and you're the PIC and we'll see you in 3 hours, be smart. But here there's a lot more regulations, which I actually do like. It keeps everybody safer, and flying with one captain the next, it's all generally the same, which is safer and less stressful, I believe. One thing I would suggest to any new guys coming into the regional world, especially, just go live in base. You're going to live there for 2-3 years. There's a lot of regional trips that start at 5 a.m. on day one. So for you to commute in from, Phoenix to the East Coast or vice versa, you're leaving the day prior at 1 in the afternoon or something. So you've lost a day, and at companies where you only get 11, 12, 13 days off, adding a day on to both of on both sides of that 4-day trip, you really have no time off. But being in base, I'm able to pick up extra flying, triple premiums, my company calls it. And the lines, I can bid whatever lines I want because I'll just drive in and show up. And I don't need to worry about what lines are commutable and what lines are not. It's been really nice. Just a few ups and downs of life as an FO. There's a lot of really short flights, which is good and bad. You do a lot more work on the ground. Maybe not getting paid, sometimes getting paid, depending on what phase of flight you're in. But you do get a lot of repetitions. I mean, my first 3 days on SOE, I had 15 legs, 5 legs a day. So that's 15 takeoffs and landings, 15 chances to set up your FMS, 15 times to go through all your flows and call outs. It's good and bad. It's a lot of work, but you get a lot of practice. You also land to a lot of small airports, small overnights. So right now I'm in Watertown, New York. The entire terminal is one gate. So it's kind of cool to go to these little places you're probably not going to get to see, outside of the regional flying world. Once you're flying 787s, can't quite fit that on normally 2.8 in a Watertown that's like 5,000 feet long. So it's good to visit these places, good to see these small runways, see how they do it out kind of in the outer reaches of the FAA environment. And the runways are shorter too, so you have to be a little bit smarter with, what runway you want to pick. Working with CTAF and everything else, there's a little bit more room to maneuver as far as the PIC is concerned. The downside, I'll say, is the inefficient trips. Today, flying into Watertown, I got in at 10 a.m. and I've been off the whole day. So, for anybody who likes to go out and go to a restaurant or go see a museum, it's great. Get to all these little towns. But if you want to fly and build time, flying an hour and a half some days is not optimal for you to build up that time to get to your 121 minimums for captain. And lastly is the money. It has been pretty good, I'd say. Talking to the old guys, they were all making 15, 20K a year, and I am making significantly more than that. I'm not making six figures, but it's good. I'm comfortable. So thank you to all those guys who came before me, who pushed for that, because we've been able to enjoy a much more comfortable lifestyle. Well, that's all I have. Rather than your normal send-off with your blue skies and tailwinds, I'm going to wish you guys 3 different prayers of pilots. I wish you commuter-friendly trips, unlimited overtime flying, and hotels with free breakfast. Signing off, First Officer Wyatt. See ya.
Excellent. Thank you, First Officer Wyatt, for the update. It's good to hear you're making great progress out there, and great advice, by the way, to those who are following you in those your footsteps. Did I say it right the third time?
I think you said it right the first time.
Seventh time, actually.
Second time, maybe. Yeah. Sounded fine.
Yeah.
We knew what you meant.
Okay. Thank you.
Free breakfast.
Gotta love that.
Wow,
all right. So, any other comments to make, or shall we move on?
No, great job.
Lots of good points.
Very thorough.
Good common sense approach to getting your first airline, or getting started in your first airline job, I should say.
I guess, it reminded me a little bit of Chad, Dana, same kind of deal where the company he got on, they said, basically, here are the keys to the airplane and go and fly it, and build up your time. Same sort of thing where they really are very helpful in providing an opportunity for you to build up that time very, very quickly so you can get on with a 121 carrier.
Yeah, I mean, it's very fortunate he was able to do that. I mean, that's a great avenue, and congratulations to you on that FO, Wyatt. And, many happy landings and happy years ahead of you.
All right. Number 5. Would somebody like to read this one?
I'll do it if you'd like.
Okay.
From Pete.
Yep, from Pete.
Interesting story. Hope you all like it. Or as they say in the South, y'all. A boy with autism wouldn't sit still on a United Airlines flight, so the crew and passengers stepped in to help. Let's make my screen a little bigger here. All right, Brayson is a 4-year-old autistic boy who usually loves to fly, but he had a meltdown on a United Airlines flight from San Diego to Houston. That was when the aircraft's crew and passengers came together to help him. The boy's mother, Laurie Gabriel of Cypress, Texas, told CNN that Brayson removed his seatbelt just before takeoff, saying he wanted to sit on the floor. It was impossible to restrain him. He was fighting both me and his father. It took both of us to try to get him back to his chair and get his seatbelt back on. He started kicking, screaming, and hitting, said Gabriel. That's when the flight attendant came over and told us the flight couldn't take off until he is seated. I told her the boy has autism. We were trying to give us a minute. The flight attendant walked away while Gabriel still trying to keep the boy on his seat. She came back with 2 other flight attendants who asked the mother how they could be of help. Then they sprang into action, Gabriel added. First, they let Brayson sit on her lap for takeoff while the father was holding him. Then after the seatbelt sign was turned off, his mother let the boy down because he was screaming and fighting her. So the crew let him sit on the floor next to them. When he's overstimulated, the vibration makes him feel better, Gabriel said. At one point, the boy inadvertently kicked a passenger sitting across from them, a United flight attendant who was not working during the flight. She said she was just being nice and said it was okay if he kicks her feet, Gabriel said. Then the boy went to first class and started kicking a man's seat, messing with it. Brayson seemed happy there. Of course he did. Why wouldn't he be happy in first class, right? So Brayson seemed happy there, so we didn't want to move him. The woman said, so I told the man, I'm sorry, but he didn't mind. He introduced himself to Brayson and gave him high fives. He said, he can kick my chair. I don't care. Oh, that actually rhymes. Everybody in first class was kind to him, asking his name, showing him pictures on their phones, letting him sit wherever he wanted. Gabriel said the flight attendant kept asking if we need anything, making sure everybody was taken care of. Just before leaving, the off-duty flight attendant, who was sitting across from them, gave Gabriel a hug and a handwritten note in which she said, in which she commended her for her strength. You and your family are loved and supported, reads the note. Don't ever let anyone make you feel as though you are an inconvenience or a burden. He is a blessing. The note goes on, God bless your patience, your love, your support, your strength, and continue to be a superwoman. Gabriel posted a picture of the note on Facebook along with pictures of Brayson on the flight and a shout out to United. United Airlines tweeted in response, it sure sounds like Brayson and your family had a great flight. We are happy that our crew is able to make it an enjoyable experience. We are overjoyed to see that we have such loving and supportive passengers on board as well. We look forward to seeing Brayson again soon.
And we are suspending the captain and the crew for letting a 4-year-old sit in the lap. No, they didn't say that.
No. That's a nice add-on there.
Operational irregularities.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
The flight attendants have been fired. No. Gabrielle said her son usually loves to fly, but the flight earlier this month was his first long flight. The family was traveling back home from San Diego, where they've been on holiday. I'm just overwhelmed from all the kindness. It makes me want to cry, she said. For the first time, people have been very understanding and helpful about Brayson's autism. It's very promising. I'm getting goosies. I'm sorry. It's very promising. We don't have to care about what other people think because there are people who are caring, who understand, and it gives me a lot of hope for the future. Wow, I've got goosebumps. What can you say after that?
A nice uplifting story.
Feel-good story.
Yeah. Absolutely awesome.
All right. Well, thank you, Dana, for reading that, and thank you, Pete, for sending that in and sharing the story with us. Let's see. 6. Captain Nick, would you like to read this one?
By all means.
Yes. The CAP, Chris. Civil Air Patrol.
Okay. Civil Air Patrol, Chris. Excellent. He says, hello, Captain Jeff and crew. I'm a long-time listener and fly with the Civil Air Patrol in the Atlanta area. I have 2 quick questions. Oh, that's great. Quick ones we love. One is, I was recently listening to live ATC on a beautiful VFR day, and they were directing planes in using the localizer approach. I was just curious as to why they were using a localizer approach and not visuals in VFR. Perhaps you guys being Atlanta-based with Acme can answer that one.
Well, that's quite the real reason for that is they bring you in on the localizer and then they'll clear you for the visual approach. That is once you have traffic in front of you in sight and or the airport in sight. So, it may be visual conditions out there, but it could be hazy. So that's quite a common practice. And they use it a lot, especially when they're running parallel visual approaches just to keep guys on the center line of the runway.
Yeah, truth is, that's standard operating procedure. Go ahead, Nick.
No, I was just going to say, with all those parallel runways, you're very close to people. You've got to be accurately lined up. And, of course, it prevents you from misidentifying a runway and landing on the wrong one.
And in practice, everywhere we go, if they have an underlying approach, we put the underlying approach in, and so even if it's clear in 1,000,000, you're still going to be dialing up the ILS frequency, tracking the localizer, tracking the glide slope all the way to the runway. Even if you're technically on a visual approach, accepting responsibility for spacing and everything else, you are not going to just turn everything off and just look outside and refer only to the runway. We're always required to have an underlying approach in our navigational aids, unless there is none.
It's such an 88ism, Jeff. I think we're the only airplane left that actually dials in the local frequency.
That's true. We probably are.
After you shovel the coal, you have to dial the knobs and wind.
Can't speak for the 7.3, but I
you have
think
to
they're
wind
all
to keep
auto
the
now,
power
too.
going. And
If you don't take the gloves off, then you get the coal all over the knobs.
it's just a big mess.
That's
They get
just,
clean the plane
and does it give it as black lung too? Do we qualify for black lung disease too?
Definitely some sort of
so.
workers' compensation.
Yeah, definitely.
So the second one was my second question to do with air sickness. So this sounds like one for Dr. Steph.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a private pilot for 7 years and fly fairly regularly. And recently, during a biannual flight review, pardon me, I suddenly became sick and started vomiting.
You don't need to get sick while you're reading this.
Yeah, I know.
It's transferring to you.
Overly traumatic, I think.
Yes.
Started vomiting, which led to the flight being terminated by the instructor. It came on suddenly after several steep turns, and I've never been airsick before. Maybe Dr. Steph can help me to understand why it happens so suddenly and if this is common, etc. Thank you for the great podcast. Clear skies and windy tails. Chris.
Windy tails, interesting. So Chris, I know. Chris, there's probably a couple explanations. I think the most likely for what happened, especially if you've not been airsick before, if you were the one flying the aircraft and just going through maneuvers you would do either on a regular or semi-regular basis or for practice, within your inner ear, there are these things called semicircular canals. And what happens is that they're filled with fluid and little tiny hairs, but also these little tiny stones called otoliths. And it's not uncommon that one of those otoliths can actually not move as freely as it's supposed to. What the semicircular canals are meant to do are to provide you with proprioception, basically. So as you're moving in different planes of motion, they're oriented either vertically, horizontally, or kind of in an oblique plane, so that when you move and twist your head, you get feedback from that and your body knows what you're trying to do and it doesn't conflict with the visual input that you're getting. But if one of those semicircular canals is blocked or the otolith doesn't move the way that it's supposed to within there, then you can get that conflicting information going into your brain from your inner ear and also from what your eyes are taking in, and that can make you feel very ill, even without being actually sick. And I suspect that might be what happened to you here. It's at least one explanation. There's some other ones. Sometimes if you're, not feeling ill per se, but starting to suffer some of the early effects of either an upper respiratory illness or another type of, or a stomach illness, GI illness, if you were dehydrated, hadn't slept well the night before. I'm sorry?
He's pregnant.
If you're pregnant,
congratulations.
Let us know if it's a boy or a girl. No, there's other reasons too why you could be feeling you could be starting to become under the weather just a little bit, but not quite feeling the full effects of being sick and have some of these issues occur. Also, I was wondering, you said it was during steep turns, but you were on a flight review, if it was something that your flight instructor was demonstrating as opposed to you actually at the controls of the aircraft, or if they had demonstrated something just before you had. That's another reason why people sometimes become airsick, because they're not the ones manipulating the controls and just get a little bit of that conflicting visual and proprioceptive information.
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
Proprioceptive?
Proprioception. Knowing where your body is in space.
Okay. That sounded really fancy.
It's what allows you to take your finger and touch your nose without really having to, if you can close your eyes and do that.
Could be a bad hangover or a bad oyster.
Yeah, there's a couple of illnesses that might lend themselves to that. But if you weren't feeling sick after all of this happened, I think the inner ear explanation is probably the most likely.
Playing a doctor on podcasts, I agree.
Did you also stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night?
did.
Excellent. If anyone else has any other logical explanations.
That sounds reasonable to me.
Mhm.
Okay. Moving on. Item 7. Hello, guys. My name is Emilio, a 200-hour private pilot from the bottom part of South America, a country that Dr. Steph has been to recently and Miami Rick used to operate from.
Man, that was a year ago for me. I guess it was kind of recently. Chile.
It's all relative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Chile and Chile?
In the southern part, yes.
In the mountains.
In the mountains, yeah.
I love the podcast. I've been a listener for a couple of years, and it's great. All of the material you prepare is incredibly interesting, and you keep my motivation on to fulfill my dream of becoming a commercial pilot in the near future. A year ago, I conducted a pretty nice and long bicycle tour in Japan and Scotland, and listening to your podcast on those long days riding my bicycle was a very nice way to let the time pass by.
He rode his bike from Japan to Scotland. Oh wait, Japan and Scotland. Okay, sorry, it's confused.
It's a water bike, a pedalo.
Be very.
We might have just enough hours to fill a bike trek from Japan to Scotland of APG. Maybe.
If I didn't know you were smart, Joe, Steph, and had blonde hair, would have made a really bad joke there.
So, did you see the guy that on a paddleboard went from the west coast of the U.S. to Hawaii on a paddleboard?
What?
So I've taken my paddleboard out like a mile, and that's really hard work. And I live on a lake where there's not a lot of waves
or sharks.
Or yeah. Wow.
Unbelievable.
In better shape than I am. Anyway.
Anywho, that can't be. Let's see. I ended my journey on the Shetland Island, a very remote part of the United Kingdom that is home to an RAF base. Saxaford?
Saxaford. That's right.
Okay. That I'm sure holds at least some plain tales material. In the 70s, there was an American pilot that was literally abducted by aliens.
Well, see, that's a bit rude.
Nick is not cutting through. You're getting cut out by everybody. I don't know why that is.
Sorry, go ahead, Nick.
I said it's being a bit rude about the Scottish people. They're not aliens at all. They're entirely different.
It is kind of rude now that you pointed out.
Yeah.
Well, and he points out that it's porn that Nick would love too.
Well, that's great, and it involves some F4 Phantom porn that Captain Nick would love. Never mind. I love the show, and I'm ashamed that I haven't listened to all the episodes. Yeah, we're ashamed of you as well. But I'm on it. I'm definitely part of the APG syndrome population. Oh boy. Sorry, Emilio. Love the show. Look forward to many more. Best regards, and I look forward to meet you all in the future. And again, that's Emilio Freire. How'd I do?
Close enough.
Freire?
I don't know, but I mean, it's an odd thing to have a bicycling tour amongst the islands of the Hebrides, because you can't cycle between the islands, and they're all pretty small. So there's not a lot of cycling to be done on the islands, but there you go, each to his own. Saxaford is on quite a remote, the northern corner of a remote island way north of the mainland of Scotland. And it consists of about 3 big golf balls, you know, the kind of thing, big white golf balls that house the big radar heads that used to keep an eye on the northern approaches to the United Kingdom. And there was a small RAF contingent there who used to look after the place and man the fighter controller rooms and maintain the radar heads, etc. And every time we were up that way, which sometimes on a QRA mission, we would often go and give them a little fly past. Fraught with danger sometimes, because there are an awful lot of very big seabirds flying around. So if you tried to buzz the base, which was on some high ground, right on the edge of a craggy fiord, used to come rattling down the field, then pull up and go over the base inverted, which was always good laugh. You had to be sort of keeping your fingers crossed that you wouldn't collect a bird or two and wreck the airplane. I never actually got up there to see it in person, but I flew over it many a time.
I picked up on something you said, Nick. The golf ball radar. Isn't that Doppler radar for weather?
Golf balls. Just a nickname for the white weather domes they put over the radar heads to protect them in the bad weather.
Gotcha.
So we used to nickname them golf balls.
They do like big giant golf balls.
Yeah, that's what they kind of look like. As a regards American pilots literally being abducted by aliens. Now, if being an American pilot, he'd have just been smoking a bit of dope. Don't worry.
Nothing to see here. Move on.
Yeah, move along.
Speaking of moving on.
Yeah.
I got to run.
Okay.
I've got a previous engagement at 7 o'clock, and I still have to go pick up my prescriptions from my oral surgery from earlier. So I'm going to run.
Right. Hope you feel
All
okay.
right.
And
thank you.
Glad to see you again.
Great to see you guys.
Bye.
And Jeff, just let me know if you need me to forward you the audio to you.
We'll do.
All right. Bye, guys. Great
All right.
seeing you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Great having you on with us. Toodles. All righty. Item 8. This is some audio feedback. Let's have a listen.
Hello, airline pilot guys. I've been a listener now for a few years, enjoying the podcast and really appreciate the joy and laughter that it brings to me each week. Like many listeners, I carry around my phone and would rather listen to the podcasts that you bring to us than most of the music I hear on the radio or other podcasts. I have but one wish that I hope you'll grant me. Long ago, there was a great pilot, writer, and philosopher by the name of Antoine Saint-Exupéry, who I admire greatly. I think I have read most of his books, and I must admit that Captain Nick and Captain Exupéry share much in common. Not only have both of them been military pilots, but they have braved the unknown through flight, not just all over the world, but in the conflict that life brings to us each day. I noticed the greatest difference between the two is that Exupéry didn't add much humor to his scribbling, whereas Captain Nick seems to take great delight whenever possible to find humor in the human experience. The old pilot's plain tale reminds me of the writings of Captain Saint-Exupéry. Through writing about his flying experiences 90 years ago, Exupéry was able to touch on the beauty of flight and the fragility of the human experience and the suffering that might go with both. To give accolades to Captain Nick by comparing him to Antoine Saint-Exupéry is my way of giving him the highest honor I can give to a great soul. So it is with some trepidation that I request that Captain Nick might include an old pilot's plain tale about the life of Captain Antoine Exupéry and some of his exploits. Notably, this is a hard assignment because there were so many exploits that he wrote about, and it would be hard to choose from all of them. Again, I have not listened to all the podcast episodes, so Captain Nick might have already written a tale about Captain Exupéry. I might have missed it, so there's always hope that that hasn't happened yet. Cheers to all of you. Carter Boswell, retired airline pilot and father of an Acme first officer.
That is awesome. I love the very last part there.
An aviation family. Brilliant. Well done, Carter.
Hopefully I'll get a chance to fly with your son sometime, maybe.
Brilliant.
Don't know what he's on, what equipment he's on. So Nick, you have not done a plain tale about what's the
Antoine
Saint-Exupéry.
No, and sadly, my education was lacking because I had not heard of him. So thanks very much indeed for the pointer. In fact, I've got to start a new plain tale pretty soon because I'll need one ready for the next show. And I'm probably going to take a quick look and see if there's a suitable story, a suitable bio I can do there. I do note, and I'm very grateful for your kind comments. I'm very reluctant to allow you to put me in the same category as this gentleman, since he was a pretty famous and brilliant bloke, poetry as well as books, etc. and a very brave chap who fought in the wars. He was awarded the Chevalier de la Légion d'honneur, which is a very high award, and the Croix de Gras, and the Croix de Gras avec Palme. So, and he also was famous enough to appear on a 50-franc banknote, I notice, in France. So that's the sort of thing that happens to well-known and well-recognized famous people, and I'm not going to get there. But I would be delighted to take a look at this and consider it for a plain tale. Thanks very much.
After listening to this, I had heard of this gentleman, his name, but I'd never read any of his works. And I, on my Kindle, I bought a Kindle version of one of his works called Wind, Sand, and Stars. And I've started reading it, and it is fascinating. It is just is a wonderful writer.
And Josine pointed out that he wrote The Little Prince, and that's a fairly famous and well-read piece of literature as well.
Okay.
What was The Little Prince about?
A Little Prince.
Little Prince.
Sorry, just trying to live up to my... how big was this prince?
He was bigger than a bread box, but smaller than a washing machine or something. I don't know.
20 questions.
All right. And finally, we're going to end the show with this one. Let's see. Chuck writes in, "Hey, thought of you guys when I saw this."
I'm a little concerned that he thought of us when he saw this.
He says, a passenger on an airplane saw something that made him stop and say, "Hey." Okay, wait.
Nay, he didn't.
Okay, yeah, nay.
Nay.
This is from foxnews.com. On an American Airlines flight from Chicago to Omaha, traveler Evan Nowak captured footage of a miniature horse near the front of the plane. According to American Airlines website, trained miniature horses are permitted on flights as a service animal. A passenger on the airplane saw something that made him stop and say, "Hey," oh wait, I thought we already said that. Evan Nowak said he noticed an unusual traveler while flying. What?
There's a lot of redundancy here. If you skip down to it, says, fortunately, the miniature horse had been given an aisle seat.
Yeah, keep going, Steph.
As it was likely too big for a middle seat and wouldn't be able to appreciate the views from the window seat anyway. I have a point there. Obviously amused, Nowak posted the footage with the caption, "At this time, we would like to begin boarding with any active duty military families traveling with children under the age of 3 and horses." In mid-August, the U.S. Department of Transportation announced that miniature horses still were allowed to fly as service animals in all cabins of commercial planes, in a statement aiming to define the guidelines regarding protections for emotional support and psychiatric service cats, dogs, and the tiny equines. The announcement did not bind airlines to fly all service miniature horses by law, but did allude to penalties if carriers violated the new rule. The Department of Transportation had not previously banned the miniature horses. According to the American Miniature Horse Association, the animals often stand between 2 and 3 feet tall and weigh between 150 and 250 pounds with an average lifespan of at least 30 years.
Ah, the AMHA.
The AMHA, yes.
American Miniature Horse Association. I remember.
Now, I've actually had a little conversation on Twitter with someone who has a miniature horse as an assistance animal, who helps detect the onset of a condition that she has. And I was asking her how you restrain it during a flight. Because if you're allowed up to 250 pounds, if you've got a 250-pound horse standing by the seats, how do you stop it from flying in the air if you hit a bit of bad turbulence? Or better still, how do you evacuate an aircraft with a miniature horse on board? If it goes out into the aisle, it could stop and refuse to move, and how do you get it down a slide, all that kind of stuff. So I've got a lot of questions about the carriage of these larger animals.
Well, I think the American Miniature Horse Association lobby is a very powerful lobby, apparently.
Is it as powerful as the gun lobby? Because I reckon...
Almost.
Really?
Yeah.
We're not allowed to
So
talk
just,
about politics.
they try to like stay under the radar. I'll note on the video, by the way, there was no way for this horse to be in a middle seat because it was a CRJ like 700, 900.
So there is no middle seat?
There is no middle seat. It wasn't even a mainline. It was a regional carrier.
Yeah. And I think this article is conflating a little bit between emotional support and actual registered service animals. And I think they are talking specifically of using these horses as in their role as service animals, not emotional support animals.
Exactly. Now I did in the video, I think it was wearing one of those harnesses, but it was probably something they bought on eBay. But it looked like it was an official service animal, but I don't know.
Well, where do you secure what do you secure the harness to?
I don't know.
And if you're a passenger who gets a 250-pound horse land on you because it's just bounced off the ceiling, who do you sue?
I don't know.
The horse.
Yeah.
Clearly.
That's it. You know, the in the one of the articles I read, it said that because they were at the between the bulkhead, even though there was no bulkhead, between first class seating and economy.
Yeah, there's just a curtain.
So there's just a curtain there. And so the horse is like basically leaning up against the last row of first class. And they said she felt bad because the horse kept bumping this guy's seat, but he seemed to be okay with it. I went, okay, this is not, I don't know. Something
Yeah,
wrong.
there's certainly issues, but yeah.
I mean, how, the average domestic flight, how long? A couple of hours?
Probably average hour and a half for a domestic flight. Yeah.
I'm just wondering what essential services that the animal has to provide in that short period that couldn't be provided either before or after or by the cabin crew.
Quit being so skeptical.
Or that the animal has to go with them to their destination to provide those essential services.
Go with them in the hold, safely secured in an appropriate container, which is bolted to the floor. And that's very safe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't make the rules.
Yeah, I'm just throwing that out there. That's all. I'm not saying don't do it or do it. I'm just saying there are a few safety questions here I'd like to have answered.
I mean, do they have seeing eye horses, like seeing eye dogs?
They might have.
Of course, and no one can talk to a horse, of course. That is, of course, unless the horse is the famous Mr. Ed. Go right to the
Wow, I know all those lyrics still.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
He's always on his tail.
Now, Mr. Ed was a talking horse?
I don't think so. Well, this one was, yes.
Mr. Ed was a talking horse, yes.
Okay. So did he get miniature talking horses?
Now that is
It sounds like a sequel or a spin-off to Mr. Ed.
Oh, boy. Well,
Tune
I'm
in,
glad.
tune in next week for Annals of the American Miniature Horse Association podcast, and we'll continue the conversation.
It's a can of worms, and I want to bring my can of worms on as an emotional support.
Emotional support can of worms.
No.
Let me have that.
Don't open your can of worms on the plane.
Unless they smell good, but most can of worms don't. Trust me.
You haven't smelled my worms.
Don't want to. Okay, with that, folks,
Dangerous territory.
this we got to shut this thing down.
Abort.
And man, it was a lot of fun again. Thanks everyone for downloading, listening to the show, especially our live audience and those folks in our chat room. Thank you very much for attending another weekly episode. And if you are new to the Airline Pilot Guy show and you want to learn more, we have a place for you to go. It's called the airlinepilotguy.com website. Where, oh, by the way, I should mention, somebody asked about mugs last show. And all you do, by the way, I didn't even know this, but we have coffee mugs on Redbubble that have the Acme logo on it, probably the older one, but we can go in there and maybe fix it up and, spiff it up a little bit. But anyway, they're there. Just go to the website and it says APG Store, and then scroll down and click on the Redbubble banner. And you'll be taken to the Redbubble Airline Pilot Guy store. And you can order your coffee mug, travel mug, all kinds of stuff there, right?
Apparently.
Yeah. Did you do that, or who did that?
Yeah, I think
Nick
I
did all that.
just clicked on a few things that I thought people might one day want.
I love it. Well, thank you very much. So just wanted to point that out. So we have merchandise, we have APG Live, we have the Plain Tales standalone site. By the way, that can also be a standalone feed for you to get on your podcast client device or app, and all kinds of other stuff there. So I'm getting all tongue-tied here, so maybe I should just hand it off to Dr. Steph, and she can tell you about how you can follow us on social media.
The social medias, head over to twitter.com and use the handle at APG Crew. You can find all of us there. You can find our individual Twitter information pinned to the top of the page. Come hang out and interact with us in 280 characters or less. You can also head to facebook.com/airline pilot guy. All kinds of community interaction going on there. Interaction, all of the above. Information about things happening in the world of airlines, aviation, our podcast, meetups, and much, much more. So hope to see you there.
Absolutely. And we're also on, hang on, let me see if Hillel's here. Hillel, come on, it's time. You're on, man.
I wouldn't go in there for a while, Captain.
Okay, don't worry.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas. We suggest episode and Plain Tales topics. We plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks, Hillel, for doing that for us, managing that Slack group. And thanks to our producer, Liz, for all the hard work that she does to make it look like we know what we're talking about. And until next time, wishing you all clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care, and God bless.
Cheers, y'all.
You're muted.
I didn't want to say goodbye anyway.
Okay.
Too
Bye,
sad.
buddy. Uh-oh. I was just trying to copy the Wikipedia address for Antoine de
Saint-Exupéry.
Saint-Exupéry.
Exupéry. I don't know. Josene's going to have to send in the actual pronunciation.
Yeah. Pronounce that for us, please, in your own voice.
Exupéry. That's probably wrong.
You know what? We could probably do some kind of a search that would tell us exactly. Pronounce Saint-Exupéry. Here we go.
Saint-Exupéry.
Oh.
Exupéry. Yeah, well, that's close-ish.
Saint-Exupéry.
Saint-Exupéry. Pori.
Making it up.
Here's another one.
Making it up.
Yeah.
Pronouncenames.com.
Little promo there for them.
Antoine de Saint-Exupéry.
Ooh.
Saint-Exupéry.
That does sound.
How is that, Josine?
Antoine de Saint-Exupéry.
Antoine. Is it de Saint-Exupéry? Yeah.
Do we have the correct pronunciation?
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Maybe.
No one speaks like that.
Saint-Exupéry.
Exupéry.
I like that. That sounds like for reals right there.
Mm-hmm.
What is does Josine say anything about any of those pronunciations?
It says Saint-Exupéry.
4-O, it's a P.
Good. Okay, good. We'll move on then. Take that as a win.
Exupéry. Yeah, so that sounds, that sounds
French.
the way she spelled that out phonetically sounded like that guy.
Pretty close.
Did the French right there. Let's see if I can.
4-0, it's a P.
Antoine de Saint-Exupéry.
That's the way I would have said it
Exactly.
if I were French.
Look, I can't do this plain tale. It's
We expect the entire plain tale to be in French. You know, like the Germans have their podcast in German. You could do a plain tales in French. Just
think.
Recorder's off.
Recorder's off. A good 3 hours and 16 minutes worth.
Mm-hmm.
Ouch.
Yeah, kind of a long one.
It's all right.
That's what she said.
Very good.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for hanging out with us, taking your valuable time up on a Thursday afternoon / evening. Nick, thanks for staying up again. Hopefully it's not too
nearly a Friday evening or morning.
Oh boy. Well, hopefully your day is not too jam-packed tomorrow.
It's a quiet one. Thanks.
Okay. Good. Well, with that, anything else we should say to our live audience before we stop the broadcast?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Just
Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers.